he's a sick dude.
Regardless of who killed her, like.
Oh, they both have a special place in hell where they're going. But quit doing that. Quit putting these people on camera with, I don't.
Yeah. That's Justin Hill? Not him. That's an arsonist. I think an alleged arsonist.
Yeah.
He looks like an alleged arsonist.
He's been convicted twice of doing it, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't need to call him an alleged arsonist. He's been convicted of arson before. This fire was set after he was arrested, though, so. That's my trending story today. Yeah, R. Kelly, this is C. Denise. We gonna need that key back.
Yeah.
606 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Friday morning show coming your way. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We are off and running. I could not be more fired up to get to the weekend this week. Woo! All right, we got a lot of ground to cover today. Haggai Davis going to be in for a cup of tech gumbo in just a little bit. Instagram for kids is a bad idea. We have more on that. A high schooler on TikTok shut down science. Yeah, that's a thing. We have more on that. Everything is available on Amazon, even if it makes it look like it has eyes. We'll have more on that. All in our Cup of Tech Gumbo segment coming up about half an hour from right now. Congressman Garrett Graves at 7:15. We normally speak with Congressman Graves on Wednesday. He was a little bit busy at the time. He was actually speaking on the House floor just moments before his scheduled segment. So a little make-up date with Congressman Graves, which is good because there's so much more ground to cover. At this time, Wednesday, everything was still up in the air. Since from then till now, about 2% of it's been solved. So we can cover that 2%. We're going to get to the partial, a version of the partial government shutdown in a little while. Congressman Garrett Graves at 7:15. We've got Tim Carpenter from Fannie Mae coming on at 7:35. You know there's mortgage assistance available as disaster relief if you are struggling in the wake of the hurricane. There is help available from Fannie Mae. We're going to talk with Tim Carpenter at 7:35. In the 8 o'clock hour, this is like I could not be looking forward to this any more than I am right now. 8:15. Chuck P is going to be in. We'll open things up to your phone calls as well. I am so geeked up about the Many Saints of Newark, I can barely contain myself. For those that don't know, the Many Saints of Newark is basically a prequel to The Sopranos. For those that don't know, The Sopranos was the greatest television show in the history of television. And it opens today in theaters and on HBO Max. Chuck P, you know him. He pops in around here to produce every once in a while, but he produces the Jay Cody show. Big movie buff. Handles Jay and Chuck at the movies, handles Don't Cross the Streams. He's been rewatching The Sopranos from start to finish and will be dialed in completely to talk about getting the table set for the Many Saints of Newark. And if it weren't enough that the Many Saints of Newark, look at that right there. It's on Haggai's computer right there. That's Ray Liotta sitting down. Boom. If it weren't enough that the Many Saints of Newark's coming out tonight, LSU's SEC home openers tomorrow night. And it's the Auburn game. And I've said it all week long. If you've listened for any period of time this week, I get more fired up about the Auburn game than I do just about any other game on the schedule. Maybe Florida. Auburn and Florida, those are my big two. But I'm fired up for the game this weekend. LSU has a real conference test. Yes, Mississippi State. I mean, it's Mike Leach and the air raid, blah, blah, blah. Auburn was in the top 25 this year. So, getting fired up for that on Saturday night. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, joins me at 8:35 to preview the Auburn Tigers and LSU Tigers in Death Valley. 8 p.m. kickoff. 8 p.m. kickoff, but nonetheless, it's going to be rip-roaring. It's going to be an SEC matchup, a matchup that every year comes away with its own personality, a matchup that every year is just huge, and it's our first SEC game back with capacity crowd since 2019. More on that as the show wears on as well. Got to start off this morning, though, talking about, what was, if you were surprised by this, then I'm surprised by you. With only hours to spare, President Joe Biden on Thursday evening signed legislation that would avoid a partial federal shutdown and keep the government funded through December 3rd. Congress had passed the bill earlier Thursday. The back-to-back votes by the Senate and then the House averted one crisis, but delays on another continue as the political parties dig in on a dispute over how to raise the government's borrowing cap before the United States risks a potentially catastrophic default. The House approved the short-term funding measure by a vote of 254 to 175, not long after Senate passage of a 65-35 vote. A large majority of Republicans in both chambers voted against it. The legislation was needed to keep the government running once the current budget year ended at midnight last night, or this morning, I guess I should say. Passage will buy lawmakers more time to craft the spending measures that will fund federal agencies and the programs they administer. They're not done, though. They haven't raised the debt ceiling yet. They've bought themselves a couple weeks to get that done. Continuing resolution funds the government for a couple of months. But what got done with this, though, is you have time to actually hash out the debate over raising the debt ceiling. Now, they're going to have to when it's all said and done. You don't spend all the money and then not pay the credit card bill. That's just not how it works. And the U.S. cannot afford to look at what the potential consequences of that would be. But what you can do over the next 2.5 weeks is really take a look at possibilities of cutting spending in any form or fashion, and maybe not raise the debt ceiling by as much as is being asked, but you tighten that raising of the ceiling to the last possible inch to keep you underneath it. Rather than just giving out a blanket number, you move it up to exactly where it needs to be and not an inch higher. That'll, of course, be one of the topics we cover with Congressman Graves at 7:15 this morning, along with disaster aid relief and, well, what's still to come over the next 2 weeks. So we're actually due up for our first break already, so let's go ahead and take that now. Before we take that break, though, got to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. It's getting to be about that time for a lot of folks. If you're sleeping on a lumpy mattress, if you're sleeping on a mattress that it doesn't feel right anymore, doesn't have any more life in it, the average lifespan of a mattress is less than 7 years. Now, there's been advancements in technology that makes them last longer than that. That's great. But if you're not getting the best night's sleep possible, it could very well be the mattress you're sleeping on, and Mitch Kimball and his team over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet want to help you out. 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. They're getting ramped up for end-of-the-year sales coming up. I know we're already in the fourth quarter, right? Ramped up for end-of-the-year sales coming up, and they can help you out with, they've got queen mattresses starting at $300 or $299. They've got hybrid mattresses. They've got cooling gel. They've got the mattress with the pillow top or the right amount of firmness that's just right for you. All you got to do is get by and try them out. If you need directions, give them a call. 930-5779. 930-5779. That's for the Mid-City location. In the southeastern corner of the parish, call 223-6001. 223-6001, or just swing by 4065 Florida Boulevard or 18181 Jefferson Highway for the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. I need to get more word on deals from Mitch, but he's been in Texas with his daughter got thrown off of a golf cart because of brain injury. I know. It's like, I'm not going to bother him.
By the way, Doug over at Complete Collision, my mom loved the job.
Good.
She did it.
Glad to hear it. Had another listener hit me up this week about them. Back until there. You don't have to every time. That's. I wouldn't mind it makes it. Yeah, it does.
I'll definitely get y'all in with when Chuck comes in.
Cool.
So the moon is retreating away from the Earth an inch and a half per year.
Yeah, I wouldn't want anything to do with us either.
So if the moon is moving further and further away, could that have anything affecting our climate? I mean, you've got the moon, which has such huge power because
Over the
of gravity
tides.
on the tides and the way the ocean reacts to things, and the way the oceans cover 7% of the Earth and control our climate. Does that have anything to do with it? I'm just asking.
That's a good question.
I mean, I would think the moon moving further and further away has a lot more to do than SUVs. But it's just a question. I'm not a scientist and I don't play one on TV.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbells, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbells. Bringing you the news you can use with Brian Kilmeade, and common sense for your dollars and cents with Dave Ramsey. Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
617, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, LSU and Auburn squaring off tomorrow night. We want to talk about the offensive line in just a minute. I do have to update, a little scoreboard update from last night. Joe Burrow, 25 of 32 last night. Are you kidding me? 348 yards. Are you kidding me? 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, the next number one quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, a mere 17 of 24 for 204 yards. No touchdowns.
Trash.
Nice to see that little battle going back and forth right there. And Trevor is that much farther behind. By the way, though, those 2 touchdowns by Joe. Oh, the mouse in the battery in my mouse just fell out. Those 2 touchdowns, by the way, were both to C.J. Uzoma. So for the first game this season, Burrow to Chase to the end zone did not happen last night.
They did have a good connection, though, this week.
Oh, they had a couple of them. I was monitoring on fantasy football. I took my first L in fantasy football I've for this season. I've never played the one game only thing where you just pick like 6 flexes. Yeah, took an L last night. Dadgummit, got beat out by. It was a matchup of 10 guys. I finished second. Anyway, hey, LSU, Auburn. Oh, by the way, 24-21, your final score last night. Bengals over Jaguars. LSU, Auburn coming up tomorrow night. Looking like Cam Wire is going to be back in the lineup. Ed Ogeron made mention of this on the Coach O show Wednesday night. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I really think that our offensive line needs to make improvement. It needs a gel. I'm not going to make an excuse for them. We got to play better. We have a lot of guys that have been hurt. I don't think we've had a starting offensive line for practice more than 2 or 3 days in a row without somebody getting hurt. So it's going to take a little time to gel, and hopefully this week they do better.
Sorry, that was Ed Ogeron talking about the offensive line as a whole. As I was saying, Cam Wire is going to be back this week.
Yeah, I think you'll see Cam play. He's not completely ready yet, but he practiced today. We're going to see as the week goes by.
Okay. I mean, any improvement at all in the offensive line is going to be a lot. As you heard him say right there, they've had a lot of difficulty having time to gel, from bringing in a coach late in the process to keeping guys healthy on the field. Kickoff is 8 p.m. Here comes the Fox Business Report. I'd said Cam Wire's back, so I didn't tell you to play in the opposite order. It's just. You got it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get over there today.
You busy?
Yep. Hey, morning, Christy. Good morning, Christy. Oh, man. Coming up on 624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Did I miss a storm? When did Teresa happen? Looking out at the National Hurricane Center's map, we skipped right past Teresa. Look, we haven't had a storm that has bothered us since Ida, but if you're looking at the map, we're up to the V already, which means there's only one named storm left on the naming calendar. It doesn't mean that's all the storms we're going to get. But somewhere along the way, I guess I just missed it. Sam is out there. Victor's out there. Don't know what happened to Teresa. I don't think they have a U. Haggai's asking what happened to U. I don't think they had a U on the list. If you pull up the list of hurricane names, it skipped right past it. I don't know why. So yeah, if you go to the NOAA.gov, yeah, it goes from Rose, Sam, Teresa, Victor, Wanda is going to be next. So make your jokes right now about WandaVision. Get them in now. Although if that one's going to have theme music, it would be the Mardi Gras song Honda Wanda. Anyway, where did Teresa go? Teresa just popped up and disappeared. And if you wanted to make jokes about a storm, there's Real Housewives of New Jersey jokes to be made all day long about Teresa. Anyway, we've still got 2 months to go in this season, and we're almost done with the list of names. They told us beforehand it was going to be a busy season or an above-average season. Sure enough, feels like we're being slow played by it. I mean, Ida crushed us. But to move through that many storms, it really has lived up to the billing. We're going to get you a cup of tech gumbo after news here at the bottom of the hour. News, traffic, weather, all coming your way shortly. One thing I did want to take note of this morning, and I mentioned it briefly in the Outside In yesterday, but it's something that shouldn't be overlooked, and that's running down the new COVID numbers. Yesterday there were 872 new cases, which I believe was the second day in a row where we had fewer than 1,000 new cases reported. Yesterday there were 49 new deaths. It's the first time we've been under 50 in a good while. Yesterday there were 867 COVID patients in the hospital. That was down by almost 100 from the day before. 148 of them are on ventilators. But that's not what I really wanted to take note of. The 867 in the hospital, yes, because now we're below, we're under 1/3 of where we were at our peak when we were up to 3,022. Heck, we're getting pretty close to being at 1/4 of that number. But earlier in the week, the governor extended the mask mandate. I had been keying in on hospital numbers because if you're flattening the curve, that's the whole point of flattening the curve, right? If you're flattening the curve, the whole point is to keep people out of the hospital so that the hospital beds are freed up for everybody else so that people aren't dying from other things because the hospital beds are taken up by COVID. Or at least that's what we were taught at the beginning of this. But one of the things we were told about as part of the gating criteria that it led to the extension of the mask mandate, one of the things we were told about was about the high level of community risk, the high level of spread. If you have more than 100 cases per 100,000, and I believe statewide earlier in the week we're at 243 out of 100,000. Well, if you pull up LDH, the Louisiana Department of Health's website, and the coronavirus dashboard that they've got there, one of the things that popped up this week was, of all the different metrics they have that you could track, cases by date, deaths by age group, cases by gender, cases by region, of everything you could track there, the very first map they have is community risk by parish. And it's just simply a Louisiana map, and it's all red. It's been all red for months on end now, meaning the entire state is at the highest risk of community spread. Well, we saw a break in that action this week. There are now 6 parishes in Louisiana that are no longer at the highest level of risk. They're now at the second highest level of risk. We've gone from highest to high. Up next will be moderate and then lower. Should we get there? Should there not be another mutation? Should there not be another variant in our future? So, what are we, like 2 days removed from the governor or 3 days removed from the governor making the announcement about a 4-week extension of the state's mask mandate? If you look at the map, they've gone from red to orange. The 6 parishes that have seen this dip are Tensaw Parish, which means a drop of 1 case, right? Tensaw Parish, Point Capee, West Baton Rouge, St. Helena, St. Bernard, and Cameron Parish. Now, if you're trying to look ahead by a week or two, who could be on the map? There are 44 parishes that are trending downward right now. I don't know if they're trending downward far enough to get them in the running. To put it in football terms, they're not in the top 25, but they're in the others receiving votes category. There's 44 of them right now within Louisiana that have the little downward arrows as when it comes to their positivity rate. So any break in the full red map is a good thing. The level of potential for more breaks in that red map is a good thing as well, especially if you're as tired of masks as I am. All right, we got news coming your way in just a little bit. For that, got to tell you about the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition. If you are looking to attack this fourth quarter and head into next year making healthier lifestyle choices, you need to check out Go Slim. Now, you can get diet food anywhere. All right, there's 1,000 diets out there. What makes Go Slim different, and I swear by their food, like the bars, the shakes, the meals, all of them are fantastic. But what makes them different is the accountability. I love telling you about them on Friday because Friday's the day I go over there to weigh in. And you own up to how you've done over the last week, and you map out how to do better in the next week within your lifestyle. You don't have to turn your life upside down. You are adopting healthier lifestyle choices. Go visit them. They're on Bluebonnet at Perkins, right next door to Rouse's. You can call them 763-9627, or you can check them out online, GEAUXSlimBR.com. Sorry, I went through that phone number fast. 763-9627, or GoSlimBR.com. I love the fact that this slowdown in the Postal Service is still being blamed on Trump. It's fantastic. We're a year removed. Like we're a month away from the 9 months from we're 9 months removed from Biden's inauguration, but we're a year removed from the election.
But yet, former President Trump is still to blame for
Everything. Everything. Love that.
it certainly can't be Biden.
Other states will share $28 million in disaster aid recovery dollars as a result of legislation approved by Congress.
Hell, let's go ahead and blame Obama, too.
Partial federal government shutdown. Money will turn into grants that can help 2020 hurricane victims rebuild their homes. Southwest Louisiana Congressman Clay Higgins says it was a long battle to get this disaster relief money.
Clinton says, Tiffany says this is America. Get another credit card and move the balance. Yeah, from who? This all comes from, most of it comes from China with Russia as the secondary. So who's loaning out money after this? Because everybody else we give money to. What's happening, T-Bob?
T-Bob. Mr. 45 Glock owner is very wrong. I've never seen The Wire. Never heard of The Shield.
I can agree with The Wire. Mr. 45 Glock owner, I'm guessing, is the same person that was on there yesterday. But anyway, The Wire is a very, very good show. If you've never seen The Wire, check it out. I wouldn't call it number one, but it's in the conversation.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's another show by HBO.
Okay.
The Shield. That was what was that dude with the shaved head?
I have no idea. Never heard of it.
It's another cop show. I didn't watch enough of it. What was that guy's name? Damn it. Michael Chiklis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him from, he was the Hulk.
Was he?
He was the Thing.
The Thing. That sounds right.
The Fantastic Four.
There you go. Yeah. You what?
Yeah. No, it was the first of the Marvel Fantastic Four. Jessica Alba. What's her company? True or Honest or all the products she makes. She's a billionaire, not from being an actor or actress. Huh? Oh yeah. She's got this massive company where she sells all these products, and she makes a lot more money doing that than she ever did as an actress.
Who's this?
Jessica Alba?
Wait, what's she doing? Dark Angel?
No, she is the CEO of a line of products that are all green. You know, they're made natural products.
Good for her.
Yeah, I mean,
No, it's like if you're gonna like, she's walking the walk, backing up what she believes in. That's good.
I want to see. The Honest Company, that's the name of it.
All right.
A consumer goods company that sells baby and personal and household products.
All right. Hey, which one do you want to start with?
Doesn't matter, wherever you want to go.
Okay. There's nothing I don't like about this rundown. Like, the Amazon stuff is a lot.
Oh, it's
a lot. I don't know if we're going to get to it.
We spent the majority of the second segment bashing Amazon for how bad these products are.
Well, let's hold off on that one.
Yeah. But we also, I mean, it's gotten to the point where, okay, we decided we beat up on Facebook again for the Instagram stuff, but it's getting old news. I mean, there's only so much you can beat up on them but they keep digging the hole deeper that they're already in.
Right. And it doesn't help that when Congress smells fresh blood, they call people in for hearings and
now you're going to
ask stupid questions about Finsta.
I just saw you're going to have a whistleblower on 60 Minutes from Facebook this week.
See?
So, I mean, it's just one more. They're just not letting go.
Gotcha.
Take a deeper dive into the stories that are important to you with the Fox News Rundown. Weekday mornings at 9 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
So the Honest Company is this Jessica Alba company?
Mm-hmm.
It's publicly traded.
Cool.
With $300 million in revenue.
Damn. Okay, like 10 seconds.
Yeah, cool.
It's time for a cup of tech. Haggai Davis talks technology news using language even Brian could understand.
You just don't get it. I don't have your head for science, so I'm not going to be able to help much.
For a full serving, check out Tech Gumbo, presented by Cardinal Capital, Saturday and Sunday at 4.
We got 30 years worth of files right here in this computer that are going to bring you down.
A cup of Tech Gumbo on Talk 107.3.
I'm sorry, wrong password.
Yes, it is time for a cup of tech gumbo, and we are overloaded for this segment. More topics than we're going to be able to cover. So if you're not watching us on YouTube, you need to be because we're going to be running straight through the breaks as well. Haggai, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm a little fired up this morning. I'm bouncing off the walls this morning.
I can tell.
Many Saints of Newark.
I know.
It's a long time coming. I'm like, you know how the Star Wars fans get? That's me for this.
Oh,
My level of nerddom over The Sopranos, and it's a really good show. 8:15. Chuck P's going to come in. We're going to talk about the movie a little bit, but mostly it's going to be rehashing a lot of The Sopranos as well.
I've been going back through the whole series as well. I started back over the summer. I'm in the middle of season 4 right now.
Okay.
Oh, it's just such, I just love this.
What happened in the most recent episode?
No, you wouldn't ask me that. Oh, it's Ralphie Soprano. Or Ralphie is
Ralph Cifaretto.
Yeah, Cifaretto is he's about to expire.
Ah, gotcha. Because he killed the horse.
Yes.
By the way, there will be spoilers aplenty if you've never seen The Sopranos. There's I'm not. It's a show that's been off the air for a decade now, or 14 years now.
15?
It ended in 2007.
Okay.
It was 1999 to 2007.
Yeah.
And yeah. So if you haven't caught up yet, I can't help you. Here's the thing, though. Many Saints of Newark, I have no idea if I may be disappointed or not. I was listening to First Light on the way in yesterday morning. First Light airs right here on Talk 107.3 from 4 to 5 a.m. They do a movie segment right before the bottom of the hour news, or from like 25 to 28, 4:25 to 4:28 is their movie review. And the guy who does the movie review, Kevin Carr, I think his name is, was like, I never watched the show in the past, just never got around to it, but I loved the movie. Now that leaves me wondering, like, if I did watch this show, am I going to love it even more, or is it setting up for disappointment because of the level of expectation of what it should be and not just accepting it for what it is?
I don't know. I'm going to find out today, though.
There's so many things I can't wait to find out about. Like, anyway, I mean, seeing James Gandolfini's son as Tony Soprano is going to be fantastic. The legend of Dickie Moltisanti is enough. I mean, Moltisanti, translated from Italian, is many saints. So, the many saints of Newark. Can't wait. Oh! Anyway, we've got a lot of tech to talk about this morning. Instagram for kids is a bad idea, and Instagram's finally pushing pause on the whole process. But they're doing so while not acknowledging that they're a bad idea for kids.
This thing, and we talked about this back, I think it was in June when the idea was first floated. And when you have 44 state attorneys general,
Attorneys General, thank you.
Come out against this, I mean, you can't get 44 attorneys general to agree on a day of the week. And now you've got 44 of them saying this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I mean that alone, that should tell you just how bad this is. And that every parent on earth is saying, please don't do this. And all the mental health professionals in the world are saying, please don't do this. And Facebook is saying, oh, well, gee, maybe we probably shouldn't do this then.
So Instagram was the one I didn't want my kids. Instagram and Snapchat were the two I didn't want. My oldest daughter is 14. I didn't want her on those two.
Good decision.
More so Snapchat for the safety, Instagram for the vanity. And I'm actually more worried about the vanity than I am the safety.
And you should be.
Yeah. So we've been closely monitoring, and she's a healthy, well-adjusted kid to begin with. So, but also she's on the front end of those teenage years. So this is like, just because she's good to go for the first few months of it doesn't mean she's good to go all the way through.
And when all the peer pressure of, oh, you're not on Instagram, it bounces around high school.
Right.
And, you know, it's good parenting on you and Christy's part to try and save her from that environment.
Right. And it's, well, thank you. It's a matter of, is it so insidious that it's still happening even while we're looking? With the downfall of the vanity, the filters get me, man. It's the idea that everyone else is going to look perfect through her eyes. She's going to see herself through a mirror, not through a filter.
And that's what all the data, all the research. So Facebook finally released all of their data to the Wall Street Journal. And if you go to the Wall Street Journal's website right now, there's PowerPoint presentations that Facebook had internally, and it's to say Facebook and especially Instagram is a cesspool would be very demeaning to cesspools.
Right.
It's so bad.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. You talk about you can't get 44 attorneys general to agree on anything. You give them a boogeyman, and they're all in.
Oh, absolutely.
And Mark Zuckerberg is that boogeyman. He is the nefarious. He's Kaiser Soze here. And you can get everybody to rally when there's a common enemy. And Zuckerberg is a convenient space for that.
and so right now he is a proverbial whipping boy.
Yeah. Yep.
Even the tech media is those who report on technology, big tech. They are all just blood in the water sharks, taking as many swipes at Facebook and especially Instagram as they can right now.
So I feel like at this point, though, because this is something we didn't need the data. We didn't need the research. We certainly don't need Congress asking questions they don't understand. This was intuitive, to me at least. As a parent, this was intuitive that we were going to get to this point right now. The next question becomes, it's on pause. It hasn't been abandoned. Is there going to be a point where they don't just say, you know what, we don't have to tap into that market. We don't need kids under the age of 13 to be our customers.
Well, as it is now, Instagram, and we talked about this a month or so ago, Instagram is losing viewers.
Yeah.
They're hemorrhaging. The people who are moving from Instagram to TikTok, from Instagram to other platforms is happening at a rapid clip.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean Instagram's going away. They still have 1 billion plus users, because Facebook has 3 billion users. But it's one of those rise and falls that we're seeing in the social media, space where, hey, MySpace is gone, and
Well, yeah, but
I know that was very early
MySpace
on. That's not a
been
good
gone
example,
since
but-
before The Sopranos were off the air. So
right. But you're going to see the ebbs and flows. I mean, Snapchat was really, really popular. It's on its way out. I mean, there's still the stock is, but their number of viewers is gone down.
Really, because it's like with teenagers, at least in the circles that I'm learning about. I mean, as having a freshman in high school in the house, Snapchat is super popular right there.
Yes, in a limited market, it is. It's because it's going after that 13 to 22-year-old space. That's where Snapchat lives.
One of the things that I'm going to find interesting in the coming months, and I feel like we're beating a dead horse with the Instagram thing, so we're going to move on when we hit the break. But one of the things that I want to find interesting moving on is with the generation that's coming up right now, like Snapchat is super hot there. Will this generation adapt to new platforms along the way, or will they find the one they like the best and stick with it? The way a lot of my generation is stuck with Facebook regardless. It's like, I'm not moving on because it's the one that I know.
So there's a story about Twitter.
We got to pause.
Okay.
We're gonna hit traffic. Your money now. Coming back. We'll pick it up there right after this on Talk 107.3.
I read a story about Twitter, how they skew to younger people, more educated, and more liberal.
Twitter's more liberal?
By a
That's
60-40 split.
See, Twitter's still my home base.
And
Facebook's now third for me.
So you're and I love Twitter as well. We're anomalies.
Yeah.
Being male, conservative, that's we're not the typical Twitter user. The typical and your fact that you're over 40 is another strike against. The majority of the people who use Twitter are 18 to 35-year-olds. They're very well educated, mostly liberal, and a lot of them are actually in the media, reporters.
Yeah. So, I'm finding that TikTok has replaced Facebook for me. Facebook's now third, TikTok second, Twitter still first. TikTok is a video version of Twitter for me, except it's a lot less serious.
Right.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more social. Twitter is a headline disseminator for me.
That's what I love about Twitter as well. I want to see the headlines. If there's a story I like, I click into it. If not, it's like 10% of everybody on Twitter it generates 90% of the content.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of people on Twitter have never actually posted anything on Twitter.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, like 70% of the people who have a Twitter account have posted less than 10 things.
That's insane. Because I'm tweeting every day, so it's weird to me.
But people who they keep their Twitter account just to see what's happening. They don't want to post anything.
Well, so
on
we're
Twitter.
seeing the same thing on TikTok, though, aren't we?
Yeah.
Where the number of people who either their account is set to private or their account has this person has uploaded no videos. Because like as I'm gaining more and more followers on TikTok, I'll go back and see if I want to follow this person back. And if you don't have any content, then what am I following? So
I've
you might need to kill this before the sponsor, and then play the sponsor after your money now. Hang on, let me.
There'll only be 3 seconds of layover. So I could.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I could just hit the pot and.
Yep.
Just
See an accident reported at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get free tire repairs on all household cars when you purchase new tires. It's all part of the Charlie's Dozen, and it's only at Shawbills.
There's 3 seconds of dead time.
You're getting good at it.
Practice makes perfect, I guess. Still have a ways to go, but I'm definitely a lot better than the first time you met me.
Well, that kind of happens with everything. A little bit of practice takes you a long way.
All right. Sorry about that.
It's not okay.
I need to start working on getting ready for the weekend, like earlier in the day. I'm here until like 6, 7 o'clock on Fridays. 4:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. is not a good day. So, the last couple weeks I've had to come back because I've got basketball practice for the 4th grader. That's a juggernaut, my man.
Really.
See, Facebook is still my wife's home. My wife lives on Facebook only because she has to handle Mercy's Instagram and doesn't want to toggle. So
Right.
she's never back on her own Instagram. And I'm like, Instagram would be her home.
That's when you use different browsers.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, she uses the app, not a browser.
Oh
Insta's only mobile.
no, you pull up Instagram on your computer.
You can?
Sure.
I've never known that.
It's also a website.
How is it people are still...
Brian.
Yeah, try to post from there.
This is maybe the 3rd time I've ever logged into it.
Yeah. .652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Cup of Tech Gumbo rolling right along. I want to talk about this TikTok story in just a second, but we do need to cover the semiconductor shortage and the U.S. looking for data on chip inventories. Where are we at here? Are we at a point where we're going to start to see a shift in the tide? I mean, no.
We're a year and a half away from getting back to where we were just a year and a half ago, and it's the whole supply chain. It's not just the several hundred ships that are off the coast of California waiting to be unloaded. As it's you don't have the it's not just the longshoremen to unload the ships. You don't have the people to load onto the trains. You don't have the people to unload from the train onto the trucks. You don't have the truck drivers to drive the trucks. You don't have the last mile, the FedEx, UPS, and those drivers. Those are all in such a shortage that the whole supply chain is broke right now.
Yes. And has been since, March of last year, basically. Well, not right at March of last year, but you know where I'm getting with
Yes.
this. It's a pandemic thing.
And
my
so
worry is we're a year and a half from getting the supply chain back in order.
And that's just in the tech sector.
Tell me why we still rely on people for this.
Well, because we don't have autonomous vehicles moving across the country yet. We still have drivers. We still
The driver's fine, but like loading and unloading ships, like to me, there's a lot of this that can be done robotically too, right? Can't we have autonomous cranes and everything else?
I'm not into logistics, so I'm not going to be able to answer that question. But
A year and a half. God, it's frustrating.
And you've got the Secretary of Commerce out there saying, "Hey, look, you chip manufacturers, we want you to give us all of the data about all of your customers and all the orders that you've made. And so,
Oh, no.
So when you give us that information, then we'll be able to go in and solve the supply chain issue. But you've got to give us all of your customers, all the orders that you've done first.
No, forget that. No.
It's not just gonna,
And
it's just not
in
gonna
the
happen.
meanwhile, the number of small businesses that are going to go out of business because if customers are relying on them and they can't be reliable because of supply chain problems, because of anything to do with anything up the chain, it's going to be detrimental to our economy. It's frustrating to hear that news, dude. It is very frustrating.
It's living in my world where I have clients. Hey, I need to buy new computers, and I'm telling them, okay, we'll hopefully have some available in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. All right. The headline reads, a teenager on TikTok disrupted thousands of scientific studies with a single video. I love this story so much for so many different reasons. Mostly I just like chaos. But researchers were caught by surprise after a short video sent a flood of new users to a survey platform. Tell me what happened here, please.
Okay, so a young girl named Sarah Frank, who had just graduated
I
from
know
high
a girl
school.
named Sarah Frank. She's my age, though.
Well, she created a TikTok video saying, hey, look, if you want to make some extra money, a little side hustle thing, there's a website called prolific.co, and they do all these scientific research, and you can fill out these surveys, and they'll pay you for it. And that's cool because she thought, okay, a few of her friends would see it. The video went viral. 4.1 million people saw it in the first month.
Crazy.
And when this prolific.co was used to having 20,000 people come to their website a year, they had 80,000 in the month.
Nice.
And all these people were bombing into these surveys, and it was mostly 18 to 21-year-old women.
Okay.
So they're all of a sudden, these surveys, these scientific research projects are looking for a full cross-section, men, women, young, old. They were getting everything 18 to 21-year-old women, and it was blowing up all of these scientific research studies to the point where a lot of them had to be scrapped and started over. Some of them they were able to dig deep and weed through. Prolific, to their credit, said, hey, look, we told you if you filled out the research, we would still pay you. So they're going to continue, they're going to actually pay everybody who went bombing into this thing. And I mean, not by bombing. I mean, they were legitimate people going in and giving legitimate answers.
Yep.
But they were hoping to have men, women, young, old, and it was just all 18 to 21-year-old women. And so, now they've got 80,000 extra clients to go research with, but it was just because one little video went viral and became a social media phenomenon because she said, hey, if you guys are interested in a side hustle, let me show you what I've been doing.
It's 4.1 million. That's in the first month, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And now she's a freshman at Brown University, and so she's less worried about all the side hustle, and now she's worried about school.
So good for her.
Yeah.
I do have questions about doing scientific research in this manner, though, because it feels like if it's on the internet, it leaves a lot to trolling.
You would think, yes.
It leaves a lot to making things very unverifiable.
And so I don't know enough about what prolific.co does or how they're doing their research through the internet. That was my immediate response. Well, good Lord, you've got 80,000 extra trolls giving you information that may or may not. But they've got their methods to verify this information and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine, I guess. But it just caught my eye that an 18-year-old girl on TikTok blew up all kinds of research.
I love it. It shows the power of the platform, though, and it shows the power of social media, to be sure.
This is what an influencer can do.
Here's the important takeaway, though, that's going to be overlooked in this. 4.1 million views, 80,000 responses. That's a significant drop-off. I would think if you got 4.1 million of anything, you'd have more than 80,000 responses.
Well, I mean, maybe, but then again, when I'm flipping around through TikTok, and I'm brain dead, kind of.
Which is the best way to flip through TikTok.
Yeah,
yeah. You just
I'm not actually gonna react to it and go
Sure.
to something. I'm just looking. I just want to look at it.
10 seconds left. What's coming up on the show?
Oh, we're gonna do a big dive on Amazon and all the stupid products they released and how scary they really are.
Saturday and Sunday at 4, and anywhere you get your podcast. It's Tech Gumbo. Hi, guy. We always appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Protect your retirement.
Yes, YouTube out there. If you're interested in what Amazon is doing, please do not go buy the Amazon Astro. It's a $1,000 robot that's got a telescoping camera, and it roams around your house taking video.
Yes.
And there's also we talked about it about a year ago, the drone, the security drone. It pops up out of its base and flies around your house with a camera, taking pictures of everything inside your house. And so if you walked out of the shower and you see a drone hovering right there, taking pictures of you.
Is there a way to turn it off while you're home, though?
I don't know enough to give you that answer because I just looked at it and said, "Oh my God, this is so damn creepy."
One of the ones that I did want to ask you about before while you were in this week was about YouTube. They're going after all the anti-vax content.
Yep.
So they have like 100% discretion over what is and is not real.
The fact that, well, number one, it's just way too late. You're 18 months too late to come out with this kind of policy. They took down 133,000 videos of anti-vax, propaganda or videos or whatever. And yeah, it's a great question. What is anti-vax and what is just trying to put information out there? But you have, you're trying to put the horse back in the barn, but the barn already burned to the ground and the grass has grown over where the ashes were.
Right.
It's way too late. There is no barn. And I mean, the anti-vax movement happened, and you let it happen.
And you cashed in on it, by the way.
And you cashed in big time on it. And so now you're going to become, we're going to do the right thing. I'm sorry, you screwed this up.
Yeah.
If you do this in April 2020, okay.
Well, and see, that's not even... That's part of my concern. The other part of my concern is the lack of oversight for YouTube, though. Like, who gets to determine what YouTube determines is reality? Like, if YouTube were to come out tomorrow and say, everything about the vaccine is fake, we're only putting out anti-vax material because it's the only stuff that's actually true.
So YouTube uses artificial intelligence to scan across all of the videos that are playing on its platform. And so it's looking for those kinds of... The algorithms are designed to look at the content based upon that. It's not some, Facebook uses real people to actually look at all the videos and kick things off. YouTube uses algorithms.
Okay. And the output is only as good as the input with an algorithm.
Absolutely.
And they are the arbiters of what goes into that algorithm.
They did the math. They're the ones who created the code. And so, yeah, what are they doing? Who's gets to decide who did the coding that said, okay, that is anti-vax, that's not anti-vax?
Right. Right. So if someone got the vaccine, ends up in the hospital, and someone reports on the person got the vaccine, ends up in the hospital, they could very well be subject to anti-vax material just for reporting on that.
And so that's where you're 18 months too late to do this.
Now, you see the anti-vax movement happened. We're basing it off the terms of the pandemic. Let's not forget that flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, all of this stuff happened well before this. Jenny McCarthy, all of this stuff happened well before there was a pandemic. We were arguing over autism or whatever the case might be.
And this has bled over into other conspiracies, so much so.
Right.
When the level of mistrust and disinformation that's out there is so bad.
The disinformation stuff. I've got to find somebody that I can I want to find like a former CIA person to be an expert on disinformation, because the level of nugget of truth wrapped in narrative makes it so, like, the number of people who, and this is on both sides of the aisle.
Oh, absolutely.
It's both sides of the aisle, but it's a nugget of truth wrapped in a narrative that skews the truth, but it's believable because it is based in truth to begin with. It just,
all you need is just a hint of truth in there,
yeah.
and then go into my political bent or my rant, my rage, whatever it is. But hey, there was enough to get my attention because I told you a little bit that may or may not be true. You're not sure, but you can't disprove it. And now I'm spew my venom.
Right.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can dig our way out of that.
And social media is I mean, you know, all of that has always been around, but social media, because we've had it now for the past 15, 20 years, is made the whole conspiracy theory stuff so much more.
And see, conspiracy theories are supposed to be fun. They're just damn fun.
Have you done Matherns yet?
No.
You have Matherns and BRPT now.
Okay.
See ya, YouTube.
Appreciate it, Hey Guy.
You betcha.
Have a good weekend.
706, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Thanks again to Haggai Davis for stepping in for a cup of tech gumbo. Conversation continued all the way through the news break, oh, by the way. Talking about YouTube. It was a story we had in our top stories and trending a couple days ago, where YouTube is getting rid of a lot of their anti-vax misinformation. Haggai, who put a great perspective on it during the break, was saying, great, you've already cashed your checks. Now what? That whole movement, you can't get the horse back in the barn because the barn has been burned to the ground. Darn good point. Anyway, thanks to Haggai Davis for hopping on for a cup of tech gumbo. That'll be available on demand at talk1073.com later on. Coming up in our next segment, Congressman Garrett Graves is going to be on board for D.C. Current, talking about staving off the shutdown of the government and where we're at right now with all the things, everything going on in Washington, D.C., whether that be disaster relief coming home, whether that be raising the debt ceiling, regardless of of what's going on in D.C. There's just so much happening right now. We're going to cover as much of it as we can with Congressman Garrett Graves in just a little bit. Hey, we've got top stories and trending coming your way in 60 seconds. Do need to remind you about the folks over at Matherns Market. Now, it is normally I tell you about both locations. They're downtown on 3rd Street, and they're on Nicholson and Skip Burtman Drive. Since tomorrow is game day, and it's the first SEC home game, and campus is going to be rocking because it's the first SEC home game, and it's the Auburn game, which makes its way into legend and lore every year. It's also a later kickoff, which means tailgating is going to last longer, which means if you're not fully stocked for tailgating, hey, don't worry about carrying everything around campus all day. Swing by Matherns while you're out there. Hit a little refresh. Grab some lunch. They'll have to-go plates all day long. The beer selection, the wine selection, the liquor selection, especially the beer selection, is fantastic. It's top-notch. You can hit them up right across the street from Tiger Stadium. Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, the corner of Nicholson and Skip Burtman Drive. Yes, they're a full-service grocery store every day. But on game day, they're your headquarters. They're your stop-off. They keep your load light as you make your way around campus tailgating. All right, time for top stories and trending. Let's get it.
Top stories and trending. On Talk 107.3 FM. The most trusted name in news. Brought to you by Complete Collision Center. With locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com. Want to know absolutely everything that's happened up to now.
A serial arsonist has been arrested again, accused of setting fire to a vacant home off Highland Road. A man with a history of arson arrest was arrested yesterday after investigators tied him to a house fire over the weekend. He is 51-year-old Eric Hogelbrook, arrested on a charge of simple arson related to a fire at a vacant house on Thomas Delpit Drive. Investigators believe he set that house on fire, was likely responsible for numerous similar crimes in the Baton Rouge area. Hogelbrook also has 2 prior arrests for arson, 1999 and 2009. He was in jail until August of 2019, which is what puts him back on the street to do this again, allegedly. So WBRZ's investigative unit learned yesterday the mother of 2-year-old Nevaeh Allen is telling a different story than her boyfriend involving the death of her daughter. Now, the story from her boyfriend was Philip Gardner. He told investigators that Nevaeh's mother, Lanaya Cardwell, punched the child in the chest after she grabbed her contact lenses. The child hit her head on a cabinet and went lifeless after Gardner took Cardwell to work. Child was unresponsive. Gardner admitted to stuffing her in a suitcase and driving her to Mississippi, where he buried her. Yes, I know, heinous enough, right? Well, apparently there's going to be more coming out about this in the very near future. Right now, though, we can tell you that the mother's bond has been set at $300. A state trooper who was suspended after he spoke with the news, with our news partners at WBRZ, actually, about Ronald Green's in-custody death and the ensuing cover-up, has now sued the Louisiana State Police, alleging that his superiors harassed and discriminated against him for years. Carl Cavalier, who's worked at State Police since 2014, said the mistreatment began shortly after he issued a ticket to a Houma police officer in 2018. After that, Cavalier says all of his work as a trooper was put under extreme scrutiny by his superiors. He was subjected to harsh criticism compared to his fellow troopers. A lawsuit was filed yesterday. It also alleges state police personnel began harassing his immediate family over minor traffic violations as well. The East Baton Rouge Parish School System says they will not adopt an optional rule introduced by state education officials that would allow parents to keep their kids at school even if they were potentially exposed to COVID. Cito Narcisse said in a letter to staff yesterday the school district would not use, quote, parent choice option announced by the Louisiana Department of Education on Wednesday. The updated guidance, which is optional for all public K-12 schools, would allow parents to keep close contact students in school instead of forcing them to quarantine. Now, this is broken down district by district, so Narcisse has the option to make that call. The state isn't kicking down anything district by district. The school system's current rules say pre-K students must quarantine for 14 days after close contact. K-12, self-isolate for 10, then 4 days of monitoring. Couldn't close out September without another fatality. A teen was shot and killed in the front yard of his home Wednesday night. Baton Rouge Police Department said 16-year-old Jamar Turnley was shot multiple times in front of his home on Harrelson Street just before 9 p.m. No known suspects nor motives at this time in relation to the teen's death. That is a look at your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. We're going to go ahead and need that key back now. Baton Rouge has rescinded R. Kelly's Key to the City. The Key to the City, a symbolic honor bestowed upon the musician 8 years ago, has been rescinded after his conviction in a high-profile sex crimes case. State Representative C. Denise Marcel, who presented the singer with the key back in February of 2013, she was a Metro Councilwoman at the time. C. Denise Marcel, who gave him the key, confirmed yesterday the honor was rescinded. R. Kelly was convicted Monday on racketeering charges related to more than a decade's worth of allegations of misconduct involving young women and children. The charges were based on arguments that Kelly's numerous managers and aides who helped keep victims quiet amounted to a criminal enterprise. How's that work? Do you ask him for the key back, or do you just change the locks? That's top stories and trending. We are due up for a break. When we come back, checking in with Congressman Garrett Graves, D.C. Current, coming your way next.
When it comes to bathroom renovations, why hire multiple contractors to do one project? One Bath Solutions offers turnkey projects for most jobs. If you need a complete gut and redesign, this is one company, one contractor, job done. One Bath Solutions, call 400 8005.
Put out the OPT, and then
Okay. BRP, yeah, you got it.
DC Current doesn't have a Trump, does it?
No. Troy says Twitter is 99% of my source for news. I follow a diverse group of news outlets to make sure I'm not an echo chamber. Then I read what I want. Solid. It's difficult to. Yes, you have to have a lot of news that it comes from random places as well, just to keep everybody honest. My son graduated from high school in May, got a CDL in August. Now he's driving trucks, making money. Good for him. It's needed right now. I mean, yeah. I want to be a truck driver in my retirement. That's what I want to do. I want to drive a truck.
Could you
See
really
the
drive
country.
that much?
Do what?
Would you really, like, do you enjoy
I don't
driving
know.
that much?
I don't know.
I couldn't handle it, truthfully.
Hey. No, keep going. I want cuts 10, 11, 12, and 13 if he doesn't show up. All right. 7:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hoping to connect with Congressman Garrett Graves right here. We normally do D.C. Current on Wednesday at 7:35. The Congressman was on the House floor at that time, so he obviously was unavailable for that. But a lot has transpired since then. We got a lot of ground to cover with the Congressman, so hopefully we can connect this morning. This morning is going to be no less busy than Wednesday. It's just we've got a little more news to cover right now. Dive into a couple of the topics we'll be talking about. Should we connect with the Congressman here in the near future? Sending an email real quick, just to make sure. Give me 1 second, y'all. I apologize. It's live radio. Still in question mark. All right. Got a lot of ground to cover here, not the least of which is the government did not shut down as of this morning. The story from the Associated Press, with only hours to spare. President Joe Biden on Thursday evening signed legislation that would avoid a partial federal shutdown and keep the government funded through December 3rd. Congress passed the bill earlier in the day. If you've followed, I don't want to say politics, because this isn't politics, it's governance. If you've followed the federal government at all throughout your life, this happens from time to time. And when we see it happen, it always comes down to the 11th hour. It always comes down to just the last second. And that's fine. It gets tiresome after a while. It's rare, very, very rare that we actually see a government shutdown. We've seen them before, but it's rare that we see it. They always find a way to keep it going for a little while. This current iteration will keep things going into December. Now, that was just one of like 1,000 things Congress was working on this week. Another one of those 1,000 things that Congress was working on this week was raising the debt ceiling. That got pushed back by 2.5 weeks. And I honestly like the fact that it was pushed back by 2.5 weeks. If for no other reason, cooler heads will have a chance to actually talk about it. When you've got a $1.2 trillion infrastructure package, a $3.5 trillion reconciliation package, you've got the impending government shutdown, you got disaster relief that's supposed to be coming back to Louisiana. When you've got all these things happening at once, it's really easy to get lost in the woods. It's really easy to get lost in the idea of not knowing which of the trillions of dollars you're voting for, which of the trillions of dollars you're voting against, and which of the trillions of dollars you're voting to pay off because you've already spent them. So the idea that they have a chance to just sit back, say, okay, here's where we are, let's take inventory. We've got a continuing resolution. The government will stay open for a few more months. Now, we've got all these bills we've got to pay. We have to raise the debt ceiling to pay them. Let's go ahead and do that. But what they're asking for with raising the debt ceiling is that Enough room? Too much room? Where are they at there? You have 2 weeks now, because they've pushed that back till October 18th, I believe, so you have 2.5 weeks to get that squared away. The infrastructure bill, you now have a little time to work on that as well, which it's a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. It keeps getting muddled with the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. The way it was worked on the front end, and we had Senator Cassidy on about this numerous times, and the two bills are separate, and the fact that they're separate should mean a win for infrastructure, while pushing or punting on the reconciliation bill, not spending $3.5 trillion just to get your $1.2 trillion. What we're seeing now is a number of congresspersons that are hesitant on the $1.2 trillion because they say it's not enough that's directly to infrastructure. We had Julia Letlow on earlier in the week. Her holdup on the infrastructure bill was that it's not enough money towards actual roads and bridges, and definitely not enough money towards broadband, which she's got Northeast Louisiana, so broadband is kind of a trigger point for her. One take that she had that I walked away from that conversation with, and by the way, it's available at talk1073.com. One take that she had that I walked away with is very curious, is the amount of money that's not exactly just allocated to an individual state. It's put up for grants that have to be approved. Basically, it's up for bid. Those bids have to be approved. At some point, those approvals are going to go through the White House. When you look at the White House, you're going to see a Democratic president that didn't need Louisiana to win election, and he certainly doesn't need us to win re-election. So where's his motivation to sign off on anything in Louisiana? Didn't need you last time. Don't need you next time. Thanks, but I'm going to go find a state that might swing my way. You hate to put it in those terms, but, I mean, she's not wrong. Another thing that got passed yesterday, and give me one more second to check my email. I'm looking for it. Okay. Might not happen. One other thing that passed yesterday that is worth noting is disaster aid. Governor John Bell Edwards put out a press release yesterday, as did Congressman Graves, as did Senator Cassidy, as did I'm sure everybody in Congress. Disaster aid made its way through. Governor Edwards put out a statement on the final congressional approval for disaster recovery funding. He says, quote, "Today is a day that many in South Louisiana, myself included, have long waited for. With the passage of aid for Louisiana following a number of disasters, including the devastating hurricanes Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida, there is a desperate need for housing in areas that were devastated by these disasters. And that'll be the focus of our work once we learn more about Louisiana's share of this appropriation. In addition to aid for areas affected by Ida, the people of Southwest Louisiana will finally get funding they've long deserved following Hurricanes Laura and Delta last year. It's tragic that they've had to wait so long, but this federal assistance will help revitalize communities that have been struggling for a year now. I want to thank the members of the U.S. Congress, especially Louisiana's congressional delegation and the White House, for supporting this aid for our people, which is a good start to kicking Louisiana's long-term recovery into gear." Congressman Garrett Graves was in the Yes column for disaster aid. He said, quote, "We are exactly 1 month from Hurricane Ida making landfall, and our efforts to deliver hurricane recovery assistance for the citizens of South Louisiana is already paying off. We have folks living in tents back home without electricity while politicians are arguing in Washington, D.C. about how many tens of trillions in debt is an acceptable amount when mortgaging our children and grandchildren's future. They tried to politicize the aid last week, and despite the chaos, we were able to get some wins." He goes on to talk about the direct assistance and the number of parishes that will be affected by that assistance. Senator Bill Cassidy also out with a press release when it comes to the Senate passing disaster relief. Senator Cassidy says Senator Cassidy says Louisiana will finally get the disaster relief we need. This is critical for our communities and people to rebuild their lives. It took too long, especially for those in Southwest Louisiana, but getting this done is a huge win for our state. So, how big of a win is it for our state? Well, let's go back to Congressman Graves. How big of a win is it for our state? Well, not just Southeast Louisiana, but dialing it all the way back to next year as well for Southwest Louisiana. Joining us now is Congressman Garrett Graves. Good morning, Congressman. How are you, sir?
Hey, Brian, how are you? I'm doing all right, thanks.
I'm doing well as well. Thank you for hopping on board. I appreciate your rescheduling. I know you were a little busy on Wednesday, to say the least. That's not to say you're not busy this morning. The work continues, does it not?
It has been an absolutely crazy week and even somewhat surreal. We were yesterday, I guess evening, we were there in a holding pattern. A speaker telling us we were going to be having a vote on this big transportation package, and went on till I think 11 p.m. before they told us that we actually weren't. And it's amazing. They've had dozens and dozens of members of Congress that just left, just flew home, and I guess they're either going to vote by proxy or gave up on this thing even having a chance.
So what does that mean? I assume you're talking about the $1.2 trillion infrastructure package. What does that mean for the package overall?
Well, so this is a real quandary, and Brian, this is only something that Washington D.C. can do. So what they did first is they actually deemed today yesterday. So in La La Land in Congress, it's still actually Thursday, so that's going on first because the highway program, the transportation program, expires on Friday, so they just deemed it Thursday. I asked them if they could deem me young and healthy too, but they said no. So that's going on. And what's happening, Brian, is the $1.2 trillion infrastructure and environmental bill that they're pushing. That one is at this point, it's inextricably linked to this $4.3 trillion social welfare Green New Deal expansion legislation. So you've got that. And then, Brian, let's keep in mind, just while we're talking about it, I mean, this goes beyond the money in the bank, even in monopoly, $1.9 trillion legislation that they implemented this year that was all of this social spending, social welfare spending. And then you have the regular appropriations process that's around $4 trillion. So let me put this in perspective. We are talking about a total of $11.4 trillion. $11.4 trillion, while we have a debt already in this country of approximately $28.7 trillion. So let me distill this right now. With what they're doing in the spending, we're on track to have a national debt that would be $353,000 per taxpayer.
Yeah.
So I mean, just completely irrational, crazy thoughts going on right now. They clearly don't have the votes to get these things through at this point, but Speaker Pelosi's pulling out every stop and trying to put as much leverage on folks as she can to spend all this stuff. And of course, we're all for infrastructure, but linking all these things and some of the excessive spending, only 10% of the infrastructure bill has new money, is new money for roads and bridges. And so really concerned about how this is playing out.
Well, 10% is new money, but there's existing money in there as well. And what's so disheartening about this is the level of work that went into a bipartisan group on the Senate side to not make these things connected, to pull that $1.2 trillion out to where even if it's not 100% roads, bridges, and broadband, it's still a better chunk than it would be for that $4.3 trillion reconciliation bill. It's at least more focused in that regard, and now it looks like all that effort is just going to fall to the wayside.
It looks like it's got a really rocky road ahead. There's no doubt about it. There are a bunch of potholes. I'll throw a pun in there.
Yeah.
And you're right. It is absolutely more focused. There's some really good things that are in that legislation. There's some real problems, and I think one of the biggest issues that most folks have on the infrastructure bill is the fact that the Biden administration has shown, they've proven that what they're going to do is they're going to implement or hand out these dollars in a very politically manipulated way. I'll give you one example. Under that bill, under the infrastructure bill, if you add up the other funds that they provided for transit programs for things like buses, our CATS program and things along those lines, there's $170 billion total that they've done between the coronavirus bills and the infrastructure bill. $170 billion for transit, which is, as I said, more new money for transit than it is for roads and bridges. It comes out to $515 per man, woman, and child to drive empty buses around the United States. 60%, in fact, over 60% of the money goes to places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, New York. The 10 top metro areas in the United States get over 60% of that money. So Louisiana is there paying for the transit system in New York, L.A., San Francisco, and other places, and getting very little benefit from that kind of money.
Yeah, Congresswoman Julia Letlow was on earlier this week and basically boiled it down to the Biden administration didn't need us to win the White House. They don't need us to get reelected to the White House. And that's sad, but there's a level of truth to it. I got 60 seconds left, Congressman. Disaster aid making its way back to Louisiana. This is actually a win that came out of this week.
It is a win. It's got a little bit of bittersweet, but look, let me be clear. For Hurricane Ida victims, here we are a month after the storm and already have a big slug of funds coming in. And this is one of the big issues that I talked to the president about. It's not just about the individual assistance to help our storm victims, our hurricane victims rebuild their homes and businesses, which is a critical part of this. That's something we really fought for. But the other thing is that I told the president, I said, we cannot ask people to move back in their homes, to invest back in their homes and businesses, if we do not also provide billions of dollars to improve flood protection, the resiliency of the communities, and that money's in there as well. So I'm really excited about it. But I'll tell you, one of the things I'm very disappointed in is how the funds were ultimately allocated for Hurricane Laura, Delta, and Zeta victims. They were really dealt a raw hand, a raw deal in this case, and that's something we're going to continue working on. So, but a really good start for Hurricane Ida and Hurricane Ida victims in the area that was impacted there, but we've got some more work to do for the folks down in Southwest Louisiana.
He is Congressman Garrett Graves. We appreciate you hopping on. We'll talk to you Wednesday.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.
Thank you. Here comes CBS News. Welcome home.
Just under the wire, baby. Nice job.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thanks.
I'm a little jealous.
You're jealous?
I've never met Dave. I've talked to him on the phone a couple times, but I've never met him. I know.
That compound is insane.
I've heard. What I wouldn't give for them to send me up there for a day.
1,000 personnel in one site, one building.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it looks like from the street.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts. The whole thing's ridiculous. Yeah, I only saw him for a very little bit. He's very well handled.
I would imagine.
But I met with all his people, and they're all good. Jake, did you bring a tripod? I wanted to ask you about something tripod.
Yeah, it's in our car. You can get it real quick.
Are you able to on this CBS News break?
Maybe during this next.
No, everything on his side is broken down 90 seconds at a time. This is 2 minutes. That's the longest he's got. Top of the hour, he's got 5.
Cool.
4.
Once the segment's like once he's having your interview, right?
Actually, yeah, once Fannie Mae hops on, he's got like 12 minutes.
Whenever next time you get it, bring it, stick that chair right there. It should be a text. I go just read the one tripod. Yeah. What's up?
Ernie and Bert reset. Holy crap! Did I say Mother's Bond was set at $300? I thought I said 300,000. That's a horrible mistake. $300,000. My bad. We will call 408-1897 at 8:40 Central Eastern, 7:40 Central. Okay. I have complete collision. I still owe you a BRPT. So let me do BRPT first. Well, let me correct my mistake. Okay. .736, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. I need to start this segment with a correction. By the way, we're going to be talking with Fannie Mae, or not Fannie Mae herself. We're going to be talking with Tim Carpenter from Fannie Mae in a couple minutes. I got to start off with a correction, though. During Top Stories and Trending, I was telling you about the bond that was set for the mother of this 2-year-old, and I think I said it was set for $300. That's just stupid. It was set for $1,000. Made a little Dr. Evil boo-boo right there. I said 1 million when I meant to say 100 billion. No, it's $300,000. The mother of a 2-year-old who was found dead over the weekend is in jail with the bond set at $300,000. So, my apologies. I made a little boo-boo right there. All right, we're going to talk with Tim Carpenter, Senior Director of Disaster Rebuilding at Fannie Mae. Coming up in just a couple minutes. Do need to take a second to ask you about physically right now. Are you at your peak physically right now? Are you at your potential right now? Do you have any nagging pain? Do you have anything holding you back? Maybe it's lower back pain. Maybe it's in your neck. Pain in the neck. Maybe, elbow, shoulder, knee. Look, over time, we all develop little things that keep us from being our best. Doesn't have to. Physical therapy could be the answer, and Baton Rouge Physical Therapy has been around for about 60 years now in the Baton Rouge area. They basically introduced physical therapy to Baton Rouge. They've got 6 locations: East Baton Rouge, Ascension, Livingston. Find the one nearest you. 917-9185 is where you're going to call. Get yourself a complimentary screening at 917-9185. Sit down with them. Talk about your literal and figurative pain points. Normally, we think about physical therapy when we think about recovering from a major accident or injury. This could be just being hunched over a computer all day long and working yourself out to getting back to being your best. Be better than your best. Think physical therapy. Think Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Thanks again to Congressman Garrett Graves for being so flexible and rescheduling with us. I know it's a different day of the week, different time of the day, and I appreciate him getting on to talk a little bit about what's going on Capitol Hill. We could do 4 straight hours with the Congressman and still have a lot left on the table that we have not yet covered. So I appreciate every ounce of his time that he can spare on a morning like this morning. I mean, I'm over here worried about pre-gaming for the many Saints of Newark and LSU Auburn. Okay. I'm over here worried about pre-gaming for the many Saints of Newark and LSU Auburn, and he's worried about spending $11 trillion over the next couple months. Anyway, we will reconnect with the Congressman again on Wednesday. Right now, though, it's time to talk a little bit about disaster relief options in the wake of Hurricane Ida, in the wake of the storms from last year as well. Fannie Mae has some mortgage assistance that's available. Tim Carpenter is the Senior Director for Disaster Rebuilding at Fannie Mae. He joins us right now. Good morning, Mr. Carpenter. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Brian. How are you this morning?
Doing very, very well. So a number of folks are just looking at their house right now, or what's left of it, wondering how they could pick up the pieces. What does Fannie Mae have to offer? How can they help?
Brian, I've been a long-time Louisiana resident, and having been through many storms and challenges, I know that the difficulties that so many people face when rebuilding and putting their life back together. Mm-hmm. Fannie Mae's got two great options out there for people that I want to share with you today. One is KnowYourOptions.com. It's Fannie Mae's website, like KNOW, KnowYourOptions.com. And the other is the Disaster Response Network. The Disaster Response Network is a counseling operation that we've set up free to anybody that calls. This counseling service, if you sign up for it, again free, they'll assign you a personal counselor to help walk you through the entire recovery, whether it's appealing your denial from FEMA, working with your insurance company. This service is for homeowners and renters. Maybe as a homeowner you may consider taking a forbearance or a break from making your mortgage payments. They'll walk you through that. They'll walk you through getting out of forbearance. The number for the Disaster Response Network is 877-908-7622. The number's also on KnowYourOptions.com, Fannie Mae's website, KnowYourOptions.com. But it's a wealth of services that connects you to rental assistance, connects you to local and state and federal assistance, and it's just someone to stand with you and walk you through this path.
Okay, let's focus on that forbearance real quick, because this is an important part of the whole process. A lot of folks are either going to have to take time off to work to rebuild themselves, or just don't have work to go to right now either. So not paying their mortgage, it's going to perk up a lot of ears. But you can't just stop paying your mortgage. You do have to go through the process. So what is forbearance, and how does it help the homeowners that are impacted by the storm?
Great question. A lot of people took forbearance for COVID, and there's a question: can I also take one for a disaster forbearance? And these are questions that the counselors at the Disaster Response Network can help walk you through. They'll also connect you with your servicer. That's the company listed on your mortgage statement. The forbearance can be up for a year, even longer on COVID. But the questions that each person has to understand is their personal situation and where they stand today. The best way to figure that out is to talk to a counselor at the Disaster Response Network. Exiting a forbearance has gotten much easier. In the past, at the end of the period, you had to come up with, say, if you took a year forbearance, you had to come up with all 12 payments at the end. Now you can take what we call payment deferral and throw those 12 payments at the end of your mortgage period, not pay any additional interest, any fees. You just take that break, you recover, you repair your house, your job, fix your job situation if you've had a loss of income or lost your job during the disaster. But all of that can be fixed at the end very easily now, and your servicer and the Disaster Response Network will work with you to get through that.
So let's say you and I'm interesting, because I didn't know forbearance in the terms of paying it all in a lump sum after the forbearance was over. I've always known it more as a payment deferral. Of course, I've only dealt with a forbearance on my student loans, but that's neither here nor there. So when it comes to payment deferral, it's as simple as tacking it onto the end of your mortgage, and you'll pick up where you left off, but you do still owe that money.
you still owe it, but it's not waiting 30 years to pay it off, if you will.
Right.
You've got time to figure out. You've got time to work through the challenges that you face today. And that's what we've learned. If you give people, homeowners, the time to work through the situation they're facing today, if you give them that time, they'll do the right thing. And so we know that if we give them that assistance, if we also provide resources like the ones on knowyouroptions.com and resources like the Disaster Response Network, they'll help you get through it. One thing that I really like about the Disaster Response Network is that we do assign your counselor. So you will work with this one person, the same person, every time you connect with the Disaster Response Network, and you don't have to repeat your whole story. You don't have to sit there on hold and go through some computer call waiting phone tag. It's two people that know each other, that'll get to know each other, and two people working together to solve your problem.
What I like about that, it does localize it. You're not going to get confused with somebody who lost their home in a wildfire in California at that point. It localizes this particular disaster. That is an important part.
Yeah.
Hey, this is random. So let's say you go through the forbearance, you get your 12 months, but you do come across cash flow in the meanwhile. Can you pay down on your mortgage during that forbearance, or do you have to hold off until it's over with?
No, you can exit a forbearance at any point. We saw hundreds of thousands of people at the beginning of COVID take forbearance and then kept paying. They were worried that they may lose their job, or that they were worried that something might happen, and they decided, no, I'm okay. They kept paying, and then they decided, after talking to their servicer, to exit forbearance.
Okay.
But it was that security, that knowing that if something goes wrong, I have that safety net.
A lot of the help that folks are going to need is going to cross the streams with what their insurance policies already cover. What's Fannie Mae doing to make sure that all the available routes are taken?
I like to say that since I have three boys, I understand working with insurance companies when it comes to car wrecks. but homeowner claims are a little different, and you don't always understand that what you get, the proceeds you get immediately, those can actually increase if you can show you had additional losses or the replacement cost more than the estimate. And so working with the Disaster Response Network, they'll help walk you through that, literally create a plan for you to rebuild and repair. And insurance can be so confusing, named storm deductibles, depreciation on your roof, all these terms, and everyone's policy is somewhat different. Mm-hmm. But understanding what you have, and the Disaster Response Network, they're experts at insurance, they're experts working with FEMA, working with SBA, working through all that maze. They've done it before, and they'll help you get through this.
Got about 30 seconds left with Tim Carpenter from Fannie Mae. You talk about working on repairs. What about working to prepare as well? Does that factor into this equation, what homeowners can do to be ready for the next storm?
I think the biggest thing is talking to your insurance agent. And if you're a renter, understand that there is very inexpensive renter insurance out there. And your renter insurance, though, may not cover flood, likely doesn't cover rising water, and the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, can cover that. But all these kind of questions are great questions to get more information on knowyouroptions.com, and also to call the Disaster Response Network, and that number is 877-908-7622, and that number is also on knowyouroptions.com.
He is Tim Carpenter with Fannie Mae. We appreciate you hopping on board with us this morning.
Hey, Brian, go Tigers.
Yes, sir. Go Tigers. Wait, which ones? No, he's already gone. Going to hit him with Auburn on the back end of that. All right. Appreciate his time this morning. We got Your Money Now coming your way in about 30 seconds, which actually gives me enough time to remind you that staycations are still available. Talk 107.3 giving you a chance to enjoy a true Louisiana staycation on us at either the Renaissance or Watermark Hotels. Simply take our staycation survey at talk1073.com, and you will be instantly registered for one of 2 staycations each month at the Watermark or Renaissance Hotels. We draw for 2 winners every... Oh, wait, it's October 1st. We are due to draw for another staycation winner. Actually, 2 more. One on this show, one on the Jada Cody show. Go take the survey at talk1073.com. Outside In's coming your way next. Let's get you to your money now. Schmerbity derb. All right, I got all the talking points if you want them from that. Yeah, here you go. Nice catch. Tiffany says, all I want to do today is watch the Many Saints of Newark, but I'm not sure the boy will let me. I mean, I'm not saying letting your boy watch the Many Saints of Newark would make you a bad parent, but it kind of would. So,
Brian, I'd like to give you a little bit of homework this weekend.
What's that?
I would like, obviously you're going to see this movie. It's a movie, right?
Many, many times.
I assume you're going to see this, and you've obviously watched the series many
I have
times.
most of the series memorized.
I don't doubt that. I heard
Yeah.
it's really good. As someone who has yet to see any of it, I've only heard its notoriety. After seeing this movie, because it is a prequel, I want you to let me know if it is worth watching that first and then watching The Sopranos.
Before I even watch the prequel, I'm going to tell you watch The Sopranos first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I should do, because that's
But
what
here's the
happened
thing, though. You got to
chronologically.
wait forever because you're talking about 6 seasons worth of Sopranos.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
but
thing.
what a ride. Oh, my gosh, what a ride.
Yeah. No, I have no doubt it's great, but, you know, this is a up-and-coming new movie coming out.
I know.
People are hyped, and if
And
it's that good...
from I've seen 3 different reviews of it so far, or heard 3 different reviews of it so far. All 3 say the exact same thing. You don't have to watch The Sopranos to enjoy the Many Saints of Newark. But from an Easter egg standpoint,
Yeah, that's what I'm
you
all
know,
about.
the show is based off of a Sopranos character's father, while starring a Sopranos character's son.
That's so crazy.
Isn't it weird? Like, Christopher Moltisanti is one of the main characters of The Sopranos. The movie's about his dad, Dickie Moltisanti. Dickie Moltisanti was the mentor of Tony Soprano, the main character of The Sopranos. Tony Soprano is being played by Tony Soprano's real-life son. It just...
That's crazy. Like,
And the whole thing is just... David Chase is back in the mix. I've missed him so greatly.
it's just one of those
like,
things where,
when you
like,
look it
real
up-
life and storytelling just works
Oh,
out
I know.
perfectly.
I know.
It's like Straight Outta Compton with Ice Cube's son playing Ice
Exactly right. That's a great comparison. But
nailed
David
that.
Chase, I think David Chase, like, I would like to see David Chase and Vince Gilligan team up.
Oh, don't you bring up Vince Gilligan.
That would be
on me
like
right
the
now.
Swedish House Mafia of TV writing.
Oh my god. No stone would be left unturned.
I know.
With detail, with
I know.
cinematography, with motifs. God, I could talk about movies forever. And Vince Gilligan is such a good storyteller. With dialogue, with camera. Like,
Which,
ugh,
so I don't think I would appreciate Better Call Saul if I didn't watch Breaking Bad.
100%.
But Better Call Saul is a perfectly good show in its own right.
I've only seen the first season so far. I've had a lot going on in life. But I've seen Breaking Bad plenty. And I think it's either the best show I've ever watched of all time, or it's top 2 or 3.
Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Top 5 for me, for
Top
sure.
5. What's above it?
A very well, okay, from a longevity standpoint, West Wing. Because Sopranos, West Wing are my 1-2.
Okay.
Outside of that, I mean, if you're going to allow comedies into the mix, MASH would get in there.
Okay. That one's pretty famous.
Or Seinfeld. But if you're not allowing comedies in the mix, Breaking Bad might be my number 3.
It's hard to rank, like, how
To
can you
cross
rank
genres, I know.
Seinfeld to Breaking Bad, like, that's polar opposite. However, I mean, like,
How much emphasis did I put on never missing an episode? That's how I rank it.
that's fair. That's a different way of ranking.
But it's also
though.
different because Seinfeld was not out in the on-demand era.
Yeah.
So you had to be Thursday nights. You had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And bonus, like I've got a great last episode of Seinfeld story that not many people in this world can have. It's when Seinfeld was going off the air, it was a big deal. Everybody was looking forward to the final episode.
I've seen his rant on Larry King, because Larry King mistakenly said that the studio canceled him.
Yeah.
He's like, "You're not aware of this?" Yeah, I've seen that for sure.
So
I know the amount of viewers he got in the last episode.
It was a very big deal. You had to be there for the last episode. Nobody knew it was coming, blah, blah, blah. Well, my mom won tickets to go to see David Letterman.
Ooh.
She won a trip to New York to go see David Letterman, and she brought me with her because I love New York, like ridiculously love New York. I'll tell you the rest of the story. And Seinfeld set in New York. Anyway, well, I'll tell you in a bit.
Yeah, we'll keep going with this.
Yeah. $7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Thanks again to Tim Carpenter for hopping on board, talking a little bit about what Fannie Mae can do to help out right now with disaster recovery and mortgage assistance. Also, thank you to Congressman Garrett Graves for hopping on board this morning. He's so slammed right now. Still to come on the show. Look, next hour is like an all-hype hour. Jake's going to have this day in history, right? And then after that, it's Katie Bar the Door. It's the Many Saints of Newark. It's LSU Auburn. It's the Many Saints of Newark. And the Many Saints of Newark. I could not be more hyped.
With a little bit of Sopranos in there.
Oh, there's a lot of Sopranos in there.
Just like a dash,
Chuck
right?
P is going to be in. We're going to open up the phones. I don't know if anybody's going to call in and talk about the Many Saints or talk about their favorite Sopranos moments.
Maybe they will.
I don't know. But I'm hyped about this movie coming out. I mean, you're talking about we are 14 years removed from the end of the series. 14 years removed from Journey retaking over popularity with Don't Stop Believin', and it just cuts short. I mean, we're 14 years removed from all that, and the hype today around the series is every bit as much of a fever pitch as it was then. Anyway, that's all to come next hour. Hey, we're going to get you to the outside in here in just a second. Excuse me. I do have to tell you about Complete Collision, though. Haggai Davis was in here a little while ago. He sent his mom to Complete Collision after an accident. Now, if Haggai's trusting his mother to Complete Collision, shouldn't you be trusting Complete Collision as well? Thankfully, we don't have to worry about this sort of thing every day. You don't have to deal with car repairs every day. But if you find yourself in an accident, the best repair option in the greater Baton Rouge area is Complete Collision Center. They've got two locations, Plank Road and Zachary, Perkins just east of Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. One of the only shops here holding that distinguished iCar Gold Class certification. Want to know more about that? Check out CompleteCollision.com. Plus, they'll make the process of handling your insurance companies about as hassle-free as is humanly possible. They take over the insurance negotiation process from the time you drop off your keys. They're here for you. The insurance company is here for the insurance company. Complete Collision is here for you. Learn more at CompleteCollision.com. CompleteCollision.com. Time for the outside in. Let's get it. Well, we're going to move fast. I talked about the Many Saints of Newark too much. Starting off at Ascension Parish, a new project will soon be underway to help improve drainage and ease flooding in the Bluff Swamp area. Parish President Clint Quinmon, officials with the Drainage Board, announced the Highway 74 flood relief project yesterday. It's going to allow water to flow easily from Bluff Swamp towards the New River. It's a new 6-foot by 6-foot box culvert replacing a 36-inch pipe. That should help. In West Baton Rouge Parish, a police officer was booked on domestic abuse and weapons charges overnight. 25-year-old Ronald Monroe Jr. arrested on charges of aggravated assault with a firearm, false imprisonment while armed, and domestic abuse. He was an officer with the Port Allen Police Department, arrested by Addis Police Wednesday night. Livingston Parish will be adopting that new Parents' Choice option for COVID-19. Essentially, students in Livingston will no longer have to quarantine if they're deemed a close contact to a COVID-19 case. The new policy follows in line with updated guidance from the state's education department. Closing out in Lafayette Parish, Sheriff's Office is investigating the discovery of suspected human remains in a burn pile in the 300 block of Burbank Road. Cause of death and identification have not yet been determined, but that's what they're looking at in Lafayette. As the outside in, let's get you to CBS News. Damn it.
I just realized that I got put in this conversation. I didn't do some of my segments, so I need to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nothing. Some birthday stuff. Who? Chuck. Let's move some of this shit out of your way. I got my first fantasy loss last night. We did a Thursday night only thing. You pick like 6 spots on the roster. One of them is your captain. Your captain counts for 1.5 times their points. So Joe Burrow was my captain. I did well there. Where I did not do well, taking Cincinnati's defense. I should have taken either defense because everything's a flex. But you have a budget, so it's not like you could just take like Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Lawrence. Whatever, Shark, whatever. So you have a budget, so you got to figure out within that. And with the way my budget balanced out, I was like, you know what? I could see a fumble recovery or an interception for Cincinnati getting a couple points here, more so than a backup tight end getting points. So I took Cincinnati's defense, and that's ended up losing it for me. CJ Uzoma was a good pick. Joe Burrow was a good pick. Huh? Yeah. It's budgeted. if I'm spending all my money on Burrow and Chase, I don't have much left. I went studs and scrubs. What's weird though is like the third string quarterback from Cincinnati costs more than Samaje Perine, who I also took. Oh, I don't know. Beathard? Is Beathard still in there? Yeah. I'm off him. I'm off of Mahomes, man. I'm done. He's.
Yeah, it feels like the wheels are starting to fall off the train over there.
Yeah, the luster. The luster is gone. Okay. I might have Mooyah for lunch today. Feeling good. If I weigh in down a pound, I'm gonna have that as it's like a reward.
Going to Government Taco. You taco the month discussed today for Anthony's Italian Deli collaboration. Mozzarella cheese stick, Anthony's Italian pork sausage. Well, I'm not pork. Anthony's Italian sausage, the red sauce, some Mexican Parmesan, and a little greenery on top.
The many saints of Government Street.
It's the Mid-City Teamsters Union.
I like it.
That's the name of it.
806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. All right, hour 3 coming your way right now. I'm so geared up. This hour is all about pregame in here. We're going to get you ready for LSU Auburn with Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, at the bottom of the hour. Actually, technically 8:40 is when Chris will be on to talk LSU Auburn. We've given you a historical perspective on the matchup. Hey, wait. If you're watching on YouTube, we've given you historical perspective on the matchup. Richard Condon talked about it yesterday. Matt Moscona talked about it the day before. When Moscona was in day before yesterday to talk about it, his favorite LSU Auburn game was 2001. It's a game that was scheduled for September 15th. Now, September 15th, 2001 was, 4 days after 9/11. So the game got postponed to the end of the year. It was played at the end of the year, and it sent LSU to their first SEC championship game. It sent LSU to Atlanta. The field was stormed. Fun was had by all after LSU beat Auburn. Come to find out after the fact. Check this out, Jake. Look at that.
Oh, look
I
at
bought
that.
the game day T-shirt for that one.
Look at that.
Big old yellow. Yeah. It's a game day T-shirt from 2001. I have 20-year-old T-shirts in my closet. That's like I've got T-shirts that are your age in my closet. Jake's a little bit older than 20. I'm just taking a shot. Anyway, LSU Auburn's tomorrow. We're going to talk about it with Chris Blair at the bottom of the hour. In our next segment, Chuck P is going to come across to have a seat next to me, and we're talking about the many saints of Newark. I am way more of a Sopranos fan than any one person should be. I am to the Sopranos what the people who dress up like Darth Vader are to the Star Wars. All right? That's where I'm at with my level of fandom. Not even Darth Vader, Darth Maul. The people who dress like Darth Maul, that's where I'm at.
That's dedication right there.
It is. It is. Although, that being said, I don't own a tracksuit, and I feel like that should be remedied today. I feel like I need a tracksuit now. Golly. All right. But The Many Saints of Newark is basically the prequel to The Sopranos, even though, as I understand it, it stands alone as its own gangster film. It opens today. It's available on HBO Max today. We're previewing it in our next segment. Right now, though, Jake takes us back in time with This Day in History. What you got?
Starting things off, we got 1869.
Yeah.
First postcards are issued.
That was
Vienna,
trending.
Austria.
That was definitely trending in 1869.
Yeah, it was the fab of the
It was-
times.
yeah. Hashtag postmark. Interesting that today would be the anniversary of the postcard when today the U.S. Postal Service is saying that snail mail is going to be even snailier.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It's going from 3 days to 5 now.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Glad everything is not as convenient.
Yeah, I can't wait till Amazon Postal Service just takes over. We can shut the USPS down.
Well, so 1888, National Geographic magazine publishes for the first time. 1888. I was surprised by this.
Why?
Because it's 1888, dude.
Just publishing anything just seems weird for that time? Is that where you're at?
People had like a printer press back in the day. No, I'm just
What are
messing.
you, Gutenberg? Yes.
No, but like National Geographic's been around for that long?
Yes, it has.
Call me uncultured then. 1893, third worst hurricane in U.S. history. Kills 1,800 people.
Dadgum.
Hits in Mississippi. 1908, Henry Ford introduces the Model T car. At the time, it cost $825.
That's a pretty penny right there.
Not too shabby. 1932, Babe Ruth's legendary call. You know, the one where he points into center field and then just,
Yeah, he calls his shot.
hits a dinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened.
I never knew that actually happened. I always thought that was like an urban legend.
Nah, it was not just
a
mentioned in
suburban
Sandlot.
legend.
That was like a real thing.
Yeah. No, I know it wasn't just a Sandlot, but like, all right.
1967.
Again, nobody tweeted about it, so it didn't happen.
If it didn't exist before Twitter, then it didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works. I don't make the rules. 1967, Pink Floyd arrive in New York for their first U.S. tour.
Okay. All right.
10 years later, in 1977, Elton John honored by Madison Square Garden's MSG Hall of Fame.
There's a Hall of Fame for monosodium glutamate. God, that joke would have been funnier if I didn't stutter.
You tripped me up for a second, I'm going to be honest with you. But I love the attempt. I'll give you that. But yes, there is a Hall of Fame for MSG, and I think it's warranted. That's going to conclude the historical events for me.
No, well, 2017, it's the anniversary of the Las Vegas Massacre.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Also on this day in 2017, I believe OJ got out of jail in Las Vegas.
I don't like that that's on the same day.
I mean, they're not connected.
No,
that
but
we
like,
know of.
But they were just spoken in back-to-back sentences.
Yeah, well, it happened same day, same place. So.
It does, and we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Birthdays.
A lot of them.
Yes.
Oh, wait, also, Roger Maris's 61st home run in 1961 was today. The Thrilla in Manila was today.
I like that. That was a cool name. All right.
You have no idea what the Thrilla in Manila is, do you?
Not a clue.
No idea.
Not a
Oh,
clue.
my gosh!
You'll tell me about it after the show.
Condon's going to come down the hall and beat you with a coffee cup.
First off with birthdays, I got to start things off with Captain Marvel herself. Brie Larson turns 32. We have Julie Andrews.
Ali Frazier, 14 rounds, the greatest heavyweight fight in the history of the world.
No, keep going. Keep going.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
You can Google it from here. Ali Frazier, Thrilla in Manila. I'm going to go home and sleep for a week, I believe was the post-fight quote by Ali.
Julie Andrews turns 85 today.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter turns 96. And we have Zach Galifianakis turning 51.
Jimmy Carter's 96?
96.
Good Lord.
I don't get it. You got any more birthdays for me?
Rod Carew.
Who?
Rod Carew.
Who?
He's a Hall of Fame baseball player.
See, it's baseball, dude.
It's America's pastime, not like that soccer garbage you throw at me every day. Also, Mark McGuire. So Mark McGuire was born 2 years to the day after Roger Maris hit his 61st, and Mark McGuire would go on, needles aside, Mark McGuire would go on to break Roger Maris's record. How about that?
Very interesting.
Also, I have a birthday for tomorrow, and we don't normally do birthdays unless it's on that day.
Must be a special one.
It's a very special one.
Let's hear it.
And it's teasing next segment. A very happy birthday to Dr. Jennifer Melfi. Lorraine Bracco, born on October 2nd. How about that?
Woo! That'll conclude the birthdays for this segment. I have one death of note to mention. Tom Clancy passed away on this day in 2013.
I didn't even know he was dead. That's 8 years ago.
He's been dead for 8 years,
That's
Brian.
crazy.
Come on, man. Get your head out of the gutter. That'll conclude the
What
death.
does that even mean? You're thinking something's dirty when you get your head in the gutter.
Yeah, but either way, your head's
Okay.
trash right now. You gotta get in the game, bro.
All right, what do we got? National days.
Holidays, we have national and international, but we have International Coffee Day, which
Wasn't it Coffee Day
Exactly.
2 days ago?
Yes, it was.
All right.
But this is international, not national. That's
right.
very different, Brian. Next up, we have National Hair Day.
Whatever.
National-
Shout out Chuck P.
You don't have to do them like that. National Homemade Cookies Day.
All right.
National Poetry Day.
All right.
World Smile Day.
I don't even know.
World Vegetarian Day.
It's too many.
That'll conclude this day in history. for
Pumpkin
me.
Spice Day as well.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I was waiting on that one just because I hate pumpkin spice. It's also not a real thing. It's a combination of other spices together. 8:14, Talk 107.3 FM. We're running long here. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, what do you hear? What do you say? Talking Sopranos, Many Saints of Newark. Next. Got yourself a
You just haven't
gun.
seen the series. I'm reading an article about it. So the director of the movie believes that, well, can't say anything because he hadn't seen it, that the ending that a lot of people think for the finale of The Sopranos, that he is, because that guy directed episodes in season 6 where people...
Yeah, I'm never going to be convinced that he is. I mean, he totally is.
Didn't Chase come out and say he is?
No.
I thought he came out like in the last few years and said he believed that that's what happened.
I think while y'all are doing this segment, I'm going to go get the camera from my car real quick.
Okay.
So I'll bump y'all in and then we'll do that real quick.
If you're not bumping us in with the Sopranos theme, I'm going to be
I-
really
I-
I've had it
disappointed
pulled
in
up
you.
since 6 a.m.
I told
Okay.
him if you want to bump in every segment with that song, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like the
I was real close.
yeah, my level of it's the open of the show. That's my level of fandom.
I obviously would have been playing the Sopranos soundtrack today. I've just been
Yeah.
playing songs from the Sopranos.
Oh, what's that one? Is bad, you know? What's that? Who sings that one? He's got like his name is also the name of a town in Louisiana. R.L. Burnside.
Yes.
Is a town called R.L. Burnside?
No, there's a
No,
town called Burnside.
There's a road called Burnside. It's in Gonzales. It's Highway 44. Yeah, I really wanted to stay up and until 2 a.m. when it dropped on HBO and watch it. I was like, I'm just gonna stay up all night.
I mentioned this to Brian.
They're covering the dark side of the Chippendales. What? We had this interview last week.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Out of the Chippendale.
The Curse of the Chippendales on Discovery Plus.
At first, I thought you were talking like Chippendale, like
The Rescue Rangers?
yes.
No,
it was like there was a dark side to Chippendale.
No. This is yeah, murder for hire, arson.
Wow. Okay.
Chuck, after this weekend, once you've already seen The Many Saints of New York probably like 80 times.
I'm not gonna watch it till I can't watch it till Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Stuff going
well,
on this
next time
weekend.
I see you, you probably will have seen it. And as someone who hasn't watched it yet, I want your take on whether or not I should watch The Sopranos first or that movie.
No, you
first.
definitely need to watch The Sopranos first.
Okay. Just wanted to get the takes.
That's right there. I told him the exact same thing, damn near word for word.
Yeah. It's like watching the prequels before the original Star Wars. Like, why would
That
you do
is,
something like that?
that's totally fair.
Learn to shine. You was born under a bad sun.
Jesus.
Blue moon.
On a bad sign with a blue moon in your eyes. Woke up this morning.
818 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Oh,
You just got to sing
the
along to that.
goosebumps! I know. I don't want to step on it. You know what we need to do? We need to get out in my Ford Focus and do a shot-for-shot remake Baton Rouge style of The Sopranos open.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, what spots in Baton Rouge would you have in the shot-for-shot remake of The Sopranos open to do it Baton Rouge style?
I mean, you got to have the bridge in there. You got to have the state capitol. You got to have Anthony's Italian Deli.
Anthony's
That's
Italian
our
Deli and Government
Satriali's.
Taco, yes. We don't have a full-on Satriali. Like, because Anthony's needs a deli. They need,
Iverstein Butcher, but it's not Italian.
Nah, it's not, yeah.
We don't have like an Italian deli.
I really
besides.
I thought Canatella's was going to be that, and they weren't. They're
No.
great in their own right.
It's like a little mini supermarket.
Right. It's
Deli.
way too kitschy and fancy and
Yeah.
bougie. It's bougie.
Yeah, it's.
They're great. I'm not knocking them.
No, it's good, but it's not. Yeah.
I was looking for the pork store.
Yeah, we don't have one of those.
No. Anthony's is the sandwiches and the meals and the sauce and the
They
the
need to have some
muffulettas.
gabagool.
They do. You do need the gabagool.
I need some sausage and peppers.
So this segment, Chuck P is in with us. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming in the morning. I know I didn't want to re-stretch you out here because you
No,
went
you're
long enough pulling double duty.
No,
So
not a problem. Anything for you, Mr. Haldane?
I appreciate it. Many Saints of Newark is coming out, or is out right now, actually.
Yeah.
On HBO Max. It'll be in theaters today as well. Now, I'm not going to talk just about this. I want to talk just from a moviegoer's perspective of prequels working and how you reconstruct a universe or you retrofit a universe.
Yes.
So all these things are going to happen. But first, I got to tell you, this segment's brought to you by Vesuvio. Get your Osobuco from Artibuco at Vesuvio, and don't forget to stop by the bar for a martina.
Oh.
It's like a martini, but from Romania. Just ask Benny.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Just ask Benny. That's good.
So, we got so many sponsors we got to cover
Yeah,
in this
we gotta get
segment.
all these
We got to
sponsors
get them in. We only got 10 minutes to go, so I want to make sure that we get all the sponsors in throughout. And by the way, share your favorite Sopranos moments because this is one of those shows that we carried with us for so long. When
Yeah.
the ending happened, the way it happened, we all carry it with us today, and it just so. What's your favorite Sopranos moment? 499-1073. Let us know. By the way, this segment brought to you by Comley Trucking. Comley Trucking has had flawless delivery service ever since Brendan Fallone was off in his bathtub.
Whoa. Wow.
That's a deep cut
That's a
right
deep
there.
cut.
That's a
You better
season
know.
2 right there.
You better know.
That's right. So let's dive into prequels in just a minute. But first, who do we have on the line? First name? All right. Well, we'll head up to the phone lines. Welcome aboard. Talk 107.3 FM. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Brian. Scott Godan.
Hey, Scott. Hey, thanks for chiming in, buddy. I appreciate it. You are every bit of a Sopranos nut as I am, I'm sure.
It is ridiculous. If you look at my YouTube homepage, they keep suggesting every single Soprano clip ever made.
It's kind of crazy because, mine's about the same. Mine is like live radio of tropical house music and The Sopranos. That's the
But
only
you know
two
what's
things that
crazy,
show up in my
man?
feed.
Like, I think I've seen absolutely everything there is to see. Then I see something new that blows my mind.
Yes. Is it a matter of we forgot it or did we miss things along the way?
I think it's
Maybe a little of both.
I think
don't know.
it's such a deep cut series. Like you can keep. I do the same thing with Breaking Bad. I've rewatched Breaking Bad numerous times, and you pick up something that you didn't catch that first time around.
There were so many things that were just so powerful
Yeah.
throughout. And
And one of the compelling factors, man, throughout all the clips I see, man, is Tony not just the biggest hypocrisy?
I mean, Chuck brings up Breaking Bad, which brings up the idea of the anti-hero, right? Which
Right.
Tony Soprano was the anti-hero. I
Sure.
mean, he was the pinnacle of that even before there was a Heisenberg or a Walter White. It was Tony. And so what area of his hypocrisy are you talking about?
Well, I'll give you an example. Y'all were talking about the Brendan Fallone in the bathtub thing?
Yes.
And Chris wanted to go get even. Man, that's what you do in these situations.
Yep.
And Tony nixed it, told him he couldn't. So,
Well,
what's the difference?
Also brought up Benny wanting to get back at Artie Bucco.
Yeah.
And Tony nixed that, too, because he's high school friends.
Yeah.
They
love
think-
The Sopranos.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to watch the show, the new movie this weekend?
Heck yeah, man! I can't wait. It's been building up and building up and building up, and I can't wait. I can't wait to learn more about Tony Soprano, and he always talked about Dickie Moltisanti. Always.
And the movie is heavy on Dickie Moltisanti
Well-
and his origins.
So the translation, Many Saints, translated into Italian, would be Moltisanti.
Yeah. there you
So the Many
Didn't
Saints
know
of
that.
Newark, the Multisantis of Newark.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, and remember, you and I were talking, I think the other day, and we're talking about that one clip they show for the preview where Tony's in the back seat of Dickie's convertible, and there's this other lady in the front seat. I was like, is that Chris's mom? Is that some other girl? I've got to know.
I think it was Janice.
Was it Janice?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's the actress that plays Janice.
Yeah.
Is she the most
so much
despised character in this? I hate Janice so much.
She was good.
Yeah. Which who did you hate more, Janice or Richie?
Richie was just he's just a trashy person, but like Janice was just spiteful and just he had her own agenda and just did everything she could to make Tony's life.
We can go deeper. If you hate Janice, then you have to hate Olivia.
Of course you hate Olivia.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Which, by the way, it's going to be very confusing very soon. As soon as I see this movie, because I love Vera Farmiga.
Yeah.
She was in The Departed.
She was.
She was the psychiatrist in The Departed, interestingly enough, and now she's the root of all the psychological problems for Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
But it just I like her as an actress a whole lot.
Good.
So, yeah, it's going to be weird to see a different perspective of Livia.
Yeah, I can't wait, guys. I'm fired up. And I think I said this out loud yesterday. This prequel coming out, you compare it to other prequels, and the first prequel series that comes to mind that was huge was Star Wars.
Yes.
Dare I say this prequel is every bit as anticipated as Star Wars?
I think you're spot on.
I can promise you it's going to be 100 times better.
Well, they kind of laid an egg the first one for Star Wars. It got better with 2 and 3.
Well, we're going to dive into those prequels in just a segment. Scott, I appreciate you hopping on board, man. I just chiming in on Sopranos memories. It was such a pivotal show. Thanks, man.
It was. Sure.
Absolutely. This segment brought to you by Barone Sanitation. At Barone Sanitation, we give you twice your garbage back if you're dissatisfied with your service. That's our guarantee.
Right into your parking lot.
That is a Richie April. Why you talking this bleep to me? All right, let's talk rebuilding a universe or retrofitting a universe into what is to come out. So David Chase obviously is going to be brilliant at this in the same way that, and I was bringing this up to Jake during the break, was, hey, it rhymes. Vince Gilligan has already written the blueprint for how to get it done.
Oh, with Better Call Saul, absolutely.
Yes. So does it make it easier for Chase to do that by using his template, or does it make it more difficult to have to raise the bar from there?
I think it's a little bit of both, because you have the established characters that you've heard so much about in this series, like Dickie Moltisanti, and then all the stories about how Tony's dad and Uncle Junior were together and running stuff, and you get to build off that template and talk about these stories, but also you get a chance to introduce new character like Leslie Odom Jr.'s character in this movie.
Yeah.
That is not anywhere mentioned in the Sopranos lore, but you can put these new characters in to enhance that storyline and just make these stories more fuller and more richer. And they've already mentioned that if successful, this could possibly lead to either more movies or maybe a new Sopranos series where you tell all these backstories and show how Tony becomes who he is.
So taking it back to the Star Wars level, yes, you can walk it all the way up to like a Rogue One scenario where the final scene. But you can't, though, because
you can't
have James Gandolfini waiting in the lobby of Dr. Melfi's office.
No, you'd have to do it, I'd say, 10 years before The Sopranos starts, something like that, because Michael Gandolfini is not gonna be
James Gandolfini.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He's not gonna be looking exactly like his dad. He's not gonna be built like his dad. He's gonna be a totally different person. Now he did something to his teeth and something else to make him appear more like his dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, look, are you looking to live, work, and play all in the same place? Check out the Esplanade, home of New Jersey's Museum of Trucking.
Oh,
this could be more. I've got
so
a dozen more. I've got a dozen more. So when it comes down, Jake's not getting any of them.
No,
by the way,
it's going over his head.
But when it comes down to it, though, like what Vince Gilligan did, taking Breaking Bad and making Better Call Saul, or what Star Wars did with their prequels, what you're opening up the door for here is you get introduced to more characters and you want to follow their stories. Like the way it's billed is the Many Saints of Newark, a Sopranos movie or a Sopranos story.
A Sopranos story. Yeah.
Which gives you the idea that there's going to be more of them.
There's more stories.
Who else do we need backstory on? And dude, if I don't see Feach LaManna, I'm going to want a Feach LaManna.
I don't think you're going to see that in this one. I think that's going to be
no. That's going to be future Sopranos stories.
They have to, because that's how that was the big thing that Tony and I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Sil?
Yeah, was it Sil with him when they busted in there, or was it Buscemi's character's cousin?
Also Tony. Blundetto.
Yeah, when they busted into the game.
I thought it was. I thought it was it. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
You found a piece of Sopranos trivia. I don't know.
I stumped you. Wow,
that is
that's
crazy.
But yeah, I feel
So-
like that's got to be told at some point.
One would hope.
Yeah.
One would hope. Yeah, bust up the poker game
And
would be a big one.
And also the big thing you got to watch out with the prequels. And Star Wars screwed this up. You got to make sure the story you're telling, the facts are there from what you mentioned in the Sopranos series already.
100%.
You got
now,
you
but
can't
see,
go off of
okay, that's where I feel like you can use previous templates to get it right this time.
Yeah.
You're not recreating, and I hate to use this word, but you have canon.
Yes, absolutely. It's
So
established. It's built.
You've got to run with that.
Yeah.
By the way, this segment's brought to you by Ramsey Sporting Goods and Outdoors. Ask for Davey Scatino. No matter your sport, he's looking for the action.
I'm good for it, Tony. It's just a bad streak.
So the idea of HBO Max and the theaters, this is something that's been out since the beginning of the pandemic and has really seemed to have caught on.
Yeah, HBO did a deal where they decided for 2021 all their major releases were going to do day and date in theaters and on HBO Max. It's worked for some, not so much. They got a lot of negative feedback from a lot of the directors of these films that didn't want to do it. David Chase didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
He was like, I made this to be seen in a theater. I didn't make this to be seen on HBO.
But see, he made The Sopranos to be filmed like a movie in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is its own thing. Oh, we got to get out of here. Hey, Sopranos is on HBO Max as of today. It's in theaters as of tonight. This segment, of course, brought to you by the Bada Bing on Route 17. Look no further for adult entertainment in Lodi, but don't call ahead because Georgie doesn't know how to work the phones. We're talking LSU Auburn. Appreciate you, Chuck. Talking LSU Auburn next.
That's perfect.
I got so many more. Brought to you by Satriali's Pork Store. Maybe it's pork, maybe it's Emil Kohler.
Ooh.
Yeah. Satriali's Pork Store.
I'm not gonna be
Gabriella sends me down for the gabagool.
I'm not going to be eating here for a while.
My kingdom for a mortadelle at Satriali's. The official veal parm of the FBI.
Yes. I just came here for the veal parm. I think I'm going to go to the movies Sunday night and see it. I'm not going to watch it on HBO Max. I want to go sit.
I think I'm going to do both. I'm not going to make it through tonight without watching it.
No, you got to.
There's no way I'm making it through tonight without watching it.
There's a chance I may watch it after my gig tonight. I'm done at 1, and I don't have to tear down. There's a drum set there, so it's like I just can leave.
Well, Christy's working a wedding tonight, and then after that, I think, instead of watching a rerun of Blue Bloods, which, you know what? God, there's so much more to dive into. Do you know how many characters from Sopranos have showed up on Blue Bloods?
No, I've never seen Blue
all of them.
Bloods. Really?
Everybody but Tony and Tony, Livia, and Carmela are the only 3. And Carmela might have shown up on an episode.
That's Donnie Wahlberg and Tom Selleck. That's that show. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Artie Bucco.
Artie's been on it. Okay.
Artie, Janice.
Dude, everybody was at the red carpet premiere last week for the movie. Like, I saw photos and stuff. Everybody was there. I was like, this is nuts. Look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to go do stuff from my office. What you need?
Could you get these belts real quick? I have to double check something. It's really important. For
Yeah.
whiskey and wine.
Yep, go ahead.
So much.
You have Chris Blair's phone number? Cool. He's in the next segment. We don't need him for a couple minutes. I mean, he sit on hold the whole time. Steven says, I've never seen a single episode of The Sopranos. Do I need to watch that before I watch the movie?
Yes.
You don't have to.
You should. I would say watch it for sure.
And there's the third option here. You watch the movie, you watch the series, you watch the movie again. Which,
yeah,
I just, like, Sopranos trivia question. You ready for this? Sopranos conspiracy trivia question.
Oh.
Who is Paulie's father?
Yeah, it's never said who it is.
No, but there's a deep-cut theory. Carmela's parents are super-duper fond and they of this one guy, and he comes to Carmela's dad's birthday when Tony's walking up with the sausage all over, Dr. Russ Fagoli. Dr. Russ Fagoli got crabs fighting in the war. He had so many crabs, we called him the governor of Maryland. Anyway, he talks about knocking up some woman during World War II, and then ended up then he got all kinds of health problems because he had prostate cancer. So the radiation gave him health problems for prostate cancer. Paulie had prostate cancer as well. We find out Paulie's mom was his aunt, and his aunt was his mother, who ended up going into the convent after getting knocked up during the war.
Huh.
It's if you Google
timeline works. I mean,
timeline works, character development works. I don't know if David Chase ever intended for it, but everything pans out where Dr. Russ Fagoli could be Paulie Gualtieri's dad.
How do you set up?
Such a minor character.
How do you set up a phone interview with David Chase talking about this movie? Why?
I don't know.
Him or Alan Taylor?
Yeah, this is my level of what this does to me on a regular basis. Hey, by the way, one that I couldn't do on the air.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Pussy's Body Shop. Pussy's Body Shop is here for your automotive needs. Now run by Sal's widow, Angie Bumpancero, Pussy's Body Shop prides itself on every detail, including keeping your passenger seat from feeling like it's off kilter.
Love it. Oh, let me get Chris on the phone.
That should have been 2 segments. I should have realized the level that I was going to go into that. Should have made that 2 segments. Shit.
Hey, Chris, it's Chuck calling for Brian Haldane. How you doing this morning? I'm good, sir. I'm good. You sound a little fuzzy on the phone. Oh, there you go. Now you sound clearer. At first, it was a little muffled, but you sound better now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put you on hold, okay? All right.
Shopping for a Mercedes in North Jersey? Check out Globe Motors. Ask for Gloria Trillo. She won't leave you hanging.
Can't wait for these to eventually make sense.
All right, here you go. You want me to? I'll get it back in if you're not ready yet.
Sorry.
Morning.
What's up?
I thought I gave him the wrong tripod and then found out it's the right one, and now.
.837 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. I knew that Sopranos segment was going to be too short, but nonetheless, there's so much to get geared up for the weekend. We're not just pre-gaming for the Many Saints of Newark, we're also pre-gaming for LSU Auburn, one of my 2 favorite series on the calendar every single year. Here to talk about it's the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Voice, what's happening, man? Chris, you there?
Excited.
There he is. Hey, what's happening, Chris?
Not much, man. It's always exciting to be on my favorite morning show. What I listen to in the car line. So I get fired up when you invite me on.
I appreciate that greatly. I should have you on more often. I mean, that is a given. LSU Auburn coming up tomorrow, 8 p.m. late start in Tiger Stadium. What should Tiger fans be expecting from? Let's start with the game itself before moving into the series as a whole. For this particular game, what should LSU fans be expecting as this team evolves?
Well, hopefully you're going to see another week of progress, because that's kind of what I'm hanging my hat on. I mean, if you look back at the opening game at UCLA, there was a lot to improve on. Mm-hmm. And again, you take on McNeese State, you take on a little better CMU Central Michigan team, and then you go on the road to the SEC. Then you've seen a progressive improvement, let's say, in a number of facets. I think the defense certainly has played extremely well over the last 3 weeks. It feels like defensive coordinator, Durante Jones, now has his feet underneath him. He's comfortable, and he's got some great players to put out there on the field. So I think you're going to see LSU, again, still try to run the football at times, but they're going to rely on the playmakers they have. And, when you look at this matchup, up front, Auburn's defensive front, probably the strength of their defense along with their linebackers. But there's some plays to be made on the back end of this Auburn defense. And, when you've got Keyshawn Butte and Trey Palmer and Deion Smith and Jack Besh and Brian Thomas and Dre Jenkins, I mean, the list goes on and on. I think you're going to see LSU test that secondary because they just simply can't. It's hard for any team to cover the talent that is outside for LSU. For Auburn, I think fans ought to be ready to see TJ Finley return to Baton Rouge, return to Tiger Stadium, and again, try his hand against LSU's very good defensive front.
So has Auburn made a call about who's starting yet at quarterback? Do we know if it's Finley or Nix?
No, not that I know of. I mean, Coach Arson had his show the same night we had Ed's on Wednesday, and he was still kind of close to the vest, which I think twofold, Ryan. I think one is he really wanted to see how Bo Nix reacted to being benched last week. Mm-hmm. He wanted to see possibly how TJ Finley handles being the guy this week, possibly. And then thirdly, I think it gives LSU's defense plenty to think about because when I look at Bo Nix and I look at TJ Finley, I mean, there's some similarities there. Obviously, they're going to, run the football with Thanks Bigsby and the rest of those guys. But from a quarterback position, you really got to plan for two different guys, two different schemes.
Yeah.
So I think all of that's the reason Harson's probably going to hold that card in his pocket until about 8:10 on Saturday night.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it anytime sooner than that, to be sure. Either way, you're probably going to see either way, you're going to see something historical in Tiger Stadium because this series always seems to bring us more and more history. Bo Nix, of course, the son of Patrick Nix, who lost in Tiger Stadium in 1995. And then TJ Finley, if he gets the start, he would be the first to play in this game for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's expecting unexpected when it's Auburn and LSU. I mean, there's some great rivalries. LSU has some great rivalries in the SEC. But this one just seems to bring out some daggone weird stuff. And I read a great article yesterday, you may have seen it in AL.com, about, it's Auburn's fault they haven't won since 1999 because the way they showed their rear end in that cigar game. And this writer basically said, we are still paying penance for those shenanigans in 1999. But yeah, I mean, the barn burning over there at the Plains, the earthquake game, the interception game, the field goal game. I mean, every game's got a name.
Yep.
The kick around the world from Cole Tracy on the road over there in 2018. So, yeah, I mean, expect the unexpected, and that's what I think is great about this game. And I think it's why ESPN said we want to have it for sure under the lights at night in Baton Rouge, Auburn, and LSU, because who knows what in the world will happen.
So, absolutely. I forgot all about the Cole Tracy one. Oh, man. Yeah, that was legendary just a couple of years ago. Let's go back to LSU's run game real quick on the Ed Ogeron show right alongside you Wednesday night. Coach Ogeron said Cam Wire's back this week. That, to me, feels like it's going to be an added dimension that could possibly help the run game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, there's two things about having Cam Wire back. I mean, you realize, and I'm sure fans do, that the opening snap for this LSU offense was the last time you really had the guys up front on the offensive line that you thought you were going to have in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And since that, due to injury and guys missing action week to week, I mean, you put a number of different combinations out there, not only game to game, but drive to drive in some instances. So I think, number one, it helps get him back out there because he is a valuable piece at left tackle. It also is going to help moving forward if everybody stays healthy, knock on wood, that you start to build some continuity with a guy to your left and to your right, as it were, playing up there.
Yeah.
And as Coach O said, and I heard this week Liam Shanahan talk about it, Ed Ingram talked about it, they're a block away from springing a big run. So I think that helps us in that department. But I also think, we've seen some success when LSU is able to get outside, especially with Kiner and Goodwin.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Ty Davis-Price has had to kind of battle and battle for yards. He did have a nice run to set up the score last week on the read pass option. But I think if you find some success outside, because that's the difference to me, Brian, in taking the next step for LSU. They were up 28-10 in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State, but they couldn't dictate terms of the game because they couldn't run the ball. And suddenly, when you don't have the big play happening, Mississippi State or any SEC team has got the opportunity to come back and make the game close. So I think it's important for the run game, and hopefully we see another step forward in that progression tomorrow night.
I completely agree. There's one other part about that run game that I'm baffled by this season, and I don't know when we're going to close the book on it, and that's the saga of John Emery. It seems like every single week we're told that Emery's still not eligible. How long do we keep going back to that well before we just close the book and say forget about it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, because obviously they'd like to have talent out there. There's still, even I'm told, glimmer of hope that something could come at some point before the end of this season. So it'll be interesting to me because John's been practicing, been working out during the week. He's just not eligible to play in the games.
Right.
So they've been trying to keep him ready. At what point does either John Emery and his people say, all right, it's time to move on, either find another school or go ahead and say I'm going to go to the next level, take a year off, whatever the case may be. And also when LSU says, hey, we've got to take these valuable reps, as much as we love you, we've got to give these reps to the guys who we can play on Saturday. So I don't know that they're at that decision point yet, because his attorney said they are still going to try to exhaust some other options. Mm-hmm. But after losing the appeal earlier this week, I got to believe that decision is coming sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Tomorrow is an 8 p.m. kickoff, which means game day atmosphere is going to be the most raucous we've seen in 2 years. A full day of tailgating on campus for an SEC home game, and a home game against, and it's not just like it's a Mississippi State or a Vanderbilt or anything. This is Auburn coming to town. So from a Tiger fan's perspective on game day, what are we looking at as far as what campus is going to be like tomorrow?
Oh, I certainly hope it is a lot like, believe it or not, as you pointed out, November of 2019, the last true SEC night game on a Saturday night in Death Valley. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a buzz starting pretty early. You know that as well as I do, and everybody listening, that if it's going to be a true Saturday night at Death Valley, the buzz is going to start around campus early in the morning. And Coach Ellie even joked about it on his press conference Monday. Pace yourself, because you to be have your faculties at your disposal around 8:10 when that game gets kicked off. And I'm looking forward to it because, as you know, you and I on game day, we get to live vicariously through Tiger fans who in and around our building as we prepare to do our jobs. But it's even though you can't participate, it's still fun to be around, and I've certainly missed that. And going to Starkville last week, albeit that's nowhere in the same stratosphere as Tiger Stadium, for about 10 minutes, I did enjoy the cowbells and the noise. After about 10 minutes, that's about all I need. But it was nice to be back in that type of atmosphere because I think we all realize without that, it's not college football.
100%. Last one before I get you out of here. And one of the things we've talked about this week with the Auburn rivalry is it's a generational thing. For folks of a certain age, the Ole Miss rivalry is the most important. For folks of a certain age, it's Alabama. My age, my first SEC game as a freshman, my first game in the student section as a freshman was the Troy Twilley interception, the Bring Back the Magic game in '95. So, from your perspective coming into Baton Rouge, and you've had plenty of time to ingest all that is LSU football, what's your favorite rivalry on the calendar?
Oh, boy. I tell you, it's funny. I enjoy the Auburn rivalry simply because of the games of late. And I think the college student and the recent graduate probably would agree with me or understand where I'm coming from in the fact that outside of the anomaly of last year's beatdown, you're talking about Auburn that held LSU to its lowest offensive output in that juggernaut 2019 season. That was a heck of a battle over here that LSU got by and won to stay undefeated. I talked about Cole Tracy's kick. We talked about the comeback in 2017. So I think in recent memory, everybody knows this is always a grudge match. For me, though, personally, it will always be LSU Florida for one simple reason, Brian. I hate Florida.
Fair enough. But I'm going to ask you the same question again on Texas A&M week and remind you of like the 30 overtime game from a couple of years ago.
Yes, Texas A&M gets up there just because they don't know any better, and they come in this year and they're going to be top 5. They're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, I've heard that. I've seen that movie before. It's not a very good movie, and the ending is never what you think.
Exactly.
But it still won't be Florida. Florida is Florida.
Fair enough. He is the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Game kicks off at 8 p.m. Coverage on the network will begin at 6. Pregame on Eagle starts well before that. Voice, we'll see you tomorrow.
Keep up the good work, Brian.
Always. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Chris Blair, I love having him hop on. Love having him as a resource. I don't call on him enough. But now that we're in the thick of the Southeastern Conference, be ready for that on a regular basis for sure. LSU Auburn tomorrow night could be a late night start. I love the fact that we have a coach that will remind fans on Monday not to drink too fast on Saturday. I mean, we're all proud of different things in life. Why does that make my list? Here comes your money now. Brace yourself. He's right, though. You don't be comatose in the third quarter. Hashtag been there. By the way, this segment's brought to you by Russo's Bakery. Stop by Russo's Bakery for buns, Scouyadel, cannolis, and Napoleons, and all the other shit for the guys. Don't let Gino cut you in line. Tell Poppin' Fresh to get a Patriot box and fill it before you shoot him in the foot.
The fact that these sponsored segments are so in depth just tells me how much this show really does strike a chord with people.
Oh, well, I mean,
you made 70 references per sponsored segment. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've got 13 of them across that I sat down and just wrote these out last night without any effort whatsoever. So, oh, by the way, rest of the show we got one more segment to go. You know what? I'll do that one on air. I think I'm going to put all my sponsorships in one TikTok video. But yeah, I sat down last night, wrote them all out. They just popped in because it's all following the series. You get so tied in to not just the guys, not just the characters, but the whole. You know how they say when a movie's filmed in New Orleans becomes its own character in the movie. Same thing.
It's like Gotham with Batman.
Yes.
It's
yes.
The soul of Gotham. Yeah.
Right.
Got you.
Right. You know what Wayne Industries is. You know what Arkham Asylum is.
Mm-hmm.
But where they don't go in Batman is, the name of the hotel he bought. What was it? Remember in The Dark Knight when he's got the ballerinas or whatever on his hip? And he has dinner with...
No, he bought the
hotel the restaurant was in the hotel. And the girls are swimming in the fountain and he's
Oh, yeah. No, he owns the place, yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called.
Yeah, well, that's the sort of thing where when you have the kind of room to run that you would have with a TV series instead of a movie, you can get into detail like that.
Mm-hmm. I love shows that's you're given as much as you give them.
Right.
The amount of effort that you give a series with how much you watch or how intent you watch, and they pay that off.
It's rewarded.
It's the best. That's why it's
It's
why cinematic universes are the thing right now. Because the more effort you give it, the more everything just is
right. It makes it feel like it loves you back.
Exactly.
It doesn't, by the way.
No, it's either way.
Which you find out in the last scene, mother.
Oh, come on, man.
Dude, the show ended 14 years ago.
Hey, guess what?
Spoilers have left the building. And I didn't tell you what happens in the last scene. I just told you the last scene is...
I mean,
It's been talked about so much. It's probably the most talked about series finale ever.
I don't know, Game of Thrones and that tragedy.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I saw 3 episodes.
Well, you could have stopped at season 6.
I saw 3 episodes. I saw the first episode. I saw an episode that had a lot of sex and a lot of people killed at a wedding. And then I saw the one with the overnight fight with the fire and the ice. In the last season.
Oh.
Second or third to last episode.
Oh, yeah, you probably couldn't see anything in that episode.
There's a lot of fire, and people just kept running through a castle that didn't seem to end.
Yeah. We don't talk about the last season.
Well,
basically, take the, like, say, like, you had, over the course of years, you've had, like, Steph Curry, Lonzo and LaMelo Ball, Rajon Rondo, Steve Nash, like, doing this crazy Harlem Globetrotters style passing to each other, and in the last season they alley-oop it to you, and instead of grabbing it and dunking it, they take it and they throw it out of the building. That's the equivalent of what the last season of Game of Thrones was.
Yeah.
It's pitiful. And that doesn't even do it justice.
Well,
let's talk about something positive.
Every time I tried to watch it was borderline porn. So
yeah, it do be like that on HBO.
Yeah. .855 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Last segment to go before we clock out for the weekend. Oh, thanks again to Chris Blair for hopping on board. The LSU Auburn series. It's dynamite all the time. And once again, the 2001 game that sent LSU to the SEC championship. And I've still got the game day T-shirt. Remember game day T-shirts? Do they still do that? Jake, you were at LSU last week. I'm kidding. Well, I mean, you're a recent graduate. Do they still do the game day T-shirt?
See, this is an instance I'm actually not the best person to ask because I was in Tiger Band.
I know, but you walk past the student. I mean, you think they're all over the campus.
We are isolated on game days.
No. It's not. You don't buy the shirt on game day. You buy the shirt on Wednesday and wear it to the game. Like that was the big thing way back in my day.
No,
when I was in school, we would do that.
Now that I think about it, game day shirts do
still
exist.
Each game had their own T-shirt.
I have the LSU Alabama one from 2019.
There you go. That's what I'm asking. So it is still a thing.
Yes.
All right. I don't feel quite as old anymore.
You're still old.
Well, no. Of course, I'm still old. My daughter is closer to your age than I am.
Old.
By the way, this segment brought to you by. Sorry, I had more than a dozen of those.
Let's hear them. They're not going to make sense to me, but the audience will probably get a kick out of it.
Hey, shopping for a Mercedes in North Jersey? Check out Globe Motors and ask for Gloria Trillo. She won't leave you hanging.
I'm going to take a wild guess and think someone got shot.
No. I didn't. Oh, jeez. All right. Anyway. Yeah, I knew going in that segment was not going to be long enough. I knew that was not going to be long enough. It was talking about the many saints of Newark getting ready for the story of Dickie Moltisanti and a very young Tony Soprano. I haven't been this geeked up about a movie in forever. I mean, I don't get fired up for movies. And Scott Godin called in. I appreciate him for calling in to talk about it a little bit as well. Just the Sopranos memories that are out there. Like when that show ended, the way it ended, the way it just took over. Like the entire zeitgeist, like everything about the way it ended was talked about more than MASH's ending, more than Seinfeld's ending. Like it was just what it did, more than Breaking Bad's ending, which is kind of fizzled. I mean, it was monumental to say the least, and now we get to go back in time to explore the Sopranos once again and get reintroduced to what David Chase has to offer once again. I'm fired up. I'm also fired up about LSU Auburn. I'm also fired up to set the table for next week. Congressman Graves will be back in his normal slot for DC Current. So much we're going to get caught up on next week. And you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. I got a bunch lined up for next week. What really happened in Wuhan? The author of that book's coming on. There's a new show coming to the History Channel, I believe, that we've got the star of that show coming on. We got a lot lined up for next week. In the meanwhile, have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy the Mini Saints of Newark. Hit me up on Twitter or Instagram if you do. I would love to share in the good time that you're having with that movie as well. So, go Tigers. Who dat? We'll see you Monday. I didn't tell anybody about Mooyah before we got out of here. If you have not yet had lunch plans, swing by Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. They are on Segan, just north of Industrialplex. They are on Bluebonnet at Highland Road. Get yourself a best case scenario. Not case scenario. Queso-nario. Oh, yeah, the queso's right on the burger. Mine's the Double Diablo. You can't go wrong. If they don't have the burger to your liking, you could build your own at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Fox News Rundown's next. I forgot all about Mooyah. I was wondering why was I off by 60 seconds? I was like, I had my closeout ready to go, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's still 60 seconds on the clock. It was actually 55, but I'll make it up to him. I'll go buy a burger. Yeah, oh, hey, guys, do you take your mental health seriously? So does Dr. Jennifer Melfi, a graduate of Tufts University. Dr. Melfi specializes in depression and suicidal tendencies, though she has been known to take on couples therapy. Dr. Melfi, how does that make you feel? All right, that's the last one. No, it's not. If you're looking for the best pizza in North Caldwell, check out Beansy's Pizzeria, now ADA compliant with a wheelchair ramp. Beansy's has the best slice in town. We'll see you on Monday. Enjoy.